What up, what up, what up? It's Ibn Webb, Ib Webb, Karana Sum. Another official thing situation going down here. Doing the Essex County all day thing here. Nod my head because the gentleman I have coming on didn't think I could get him, but I got him. Shawn McCray, for those that don't know, basketball player, coach, mentor, advocate. How you doing? I'm Ibn Webb, and like I said, thank you, Coach, for accepting this and just willing to jump on here. Like I said, I know you probably ripping and running, so I appreciate the opportunity.
No, I'm pretty much, I don't got too much going on right now. A couple of fall leagues, but not too much else going on.
Okay. Are you still head coaching over at Central, or are you doing some other stuff now?
Yeah, they're gonna have to carry me out of there, man.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Nah, I like the sound of that here. And again, I'm not sure if you seen any of these or what have you here, but I've been doing, I just like to just share this a tiny bit. I started this a few months ago. It was one of those things with immediate family or what have you, just with stuff going on. And outside of my immediate family, I was like, wow, me being from Jersey, Essex County, I was born in Newark, raised in Orange, but family all over the place, scattered throughout Newark or what have you there. I just
Right.
it was just people that I know of or heard of or seen, and just kind of just wanted to just have some conversations, get into their world a little bit, and maybe some folks could just share some stuff about themselves that, other people may not have known or just admired, just like myself here. And I got a list, like I said, this list is yay long. I don't think I'll get everybody, but I'm gonna go down swinging.
Right.
I'm gonna go down swinging. And like I said, I appreciate you being actually one of them on that list here. So that's kind of like the Cliff Notes version of how this kind of went down here. So like I said, I just wanted, like I said, to say thank you again. And even with that being said, I know, like you said, they're gonna have to carry you out of Central here. With that, are you from Newark, born, raised, or you came from somewhere else and ended up in Newark? I know you bleed Newark. So I mean, is it right? Is it right from the door, like right from birth here?
Yeah. I'm born and raised in Newark. I'm a Newark at heart.
Okay.
I'm at Central. I always wanted to go to Central High School when I was, I grew up in the Central Ward of Newark.
Mm-hmm.
And my academics took me to St. Benedict's. So
okay.
I was at St. Benedict's for 3 years. I played ball there. And my last year, I was the years I was there, I was trying to fail on purpose.
Really?
I didn't really want to be there because, it was all males.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different environment from where I came from. I grew up in the projects.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was a little more different, more structured at St. Benedict's. And, we had free periods in there. And one day I was on my free period and Father Ed walked in and he's still there. You know what I'm saying? And he walked in the room and walked in the cafeteria. I was on my free period. And he said, McCray, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm on my free period. He was like, well, where's your work? And I'm like, I'm just hanging out until my next class. And he said, you're not graduating. So I was like, I'm not graduating. What you mean? It was like October of my senior year, and he said, I'm not graduating. And then he was like, you need 4 years of this, 4 years of that. And no public school, you didn't need 4 years of, things like St. Benedict's required. So I went home, told my mom what was going on. And the next day she transferred me and I went to Central. So, I don't look back on it as a bad move because I probably wouldn't be doing the things I'm doing now had I stayed at St. Benedict's.
Right. Interesting. And even for the Benedict's days, again, growing up in the projects as being in North Care, like, what was your childhood like? I mean, again, I know a lot of people say your typical normal childhood. Was it anything different from, the next man?
No, I mean, I hung with my moms a lot, no father in the home, so, it was me, my mom. I got 2 younger siblings.
Okay.
And, I tagged along with her a lot, till I was about 11 or 12 years old. And then I got a little bit more freedom. And, I had went to Cleveland Elementary School, which is here in Newark. And at the time, it went up to the 6th grade. And I had got a scholarship to go to this Catholic school here in Newark called St. Rocco's, which is now closed. It's now Rise Academy. But I had got a scholarship to go there for 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah.
So that pretty much broke the reins from me being around my mother. You know, I started venturing outside my neighborhood. You know, at 12, 13 years old, 7th grade, I had to catch a bus to school. And, you know, I just had a normal childhood like everybody else. You know, I always tell my players now that, you know, you guys are not being kids. You know, I was a kid, like we did kid things. You know, you guys are doing grown-up things at kids' ages. So I think these kids nowadays are missing like childhood, having fun being a kid. But I didn't it was nothing different in my life growing up. You know, my neighborhood was rough and, you know, I adapted to it, you know.
Yeah. Now you mentioned St. Rocco's. I mean, interesting. Now how tall are you? I think you 6 what?
I'm 6'5".
And the reason I say that in this joke, because I remember St. Rocco's growing up. I'm late 80s, 90s guy here. You know, it was all guards with me. So I was wondering how, like, back when as far as the guys that I knew that went to St. Rocco's there, like, if you was a big, it might have been tough for you to even touch that rock. I mean, as far as
my team was big. We probably was I think the team after us. But my 7th and 8th grade team, we were big. You know, I was 6'2".
Okay.
My man Jeffrey Montague was about 6'2". Kenny was like 6'1". And our guards were about 5 something. But we had a big squad there. And then after that, maybe 3 to 5 years after I left, it started becoming a guard school, you know, with Allen Watson, I think.
Yas, all those guys.
D-Rock, Shawn Evans, Dewan Bay. Like, it was a lot of guards that came out of St. Rocco's. And when I was in the 7th grade, Larry Jones was actually the you know, the big man on campus. He was in the 8th grade. Okay. He went on to play at Essex Catholic. I'm not sure. I think he went to St. Joe's, but Dante Jones is his son that, you know, played in the NBA all those years. So, you know, St. Rocco's was, you know, it was a basketball factory, but I didn't know that until I got there. You know, I went there for academics, and then I just happened to be 6'2" in the 7th grade. So, you know, I have to play basketball. I played in my neighborhood, but that was the first time I ever played organized when I went to St. Rocco's.
Okay. Did you gravitate to any other sports or activities, any interest when you were younger?
No, I mean, I played football, I played baseball, but only in the streets. I never played on a team, you know. So, you know, football I love, you know, that's my second sport. I love football. Okay. But I never played because I went to St. Benedict's and they didn't have a football team. And they kind of persuaded us not to play for outside schools. So I just didn't play. And by the time I got to Central my senior year, football season was going on already. So, you know, I got there in like October of my senior year. So.
Okay. Now, it's interesting, even back to the elementary days, as far as, to your point, just getting that exposure, because you guys travel, even though it was in Jersey, and maybe, I don't know if y'all even went over Jersey borders, but it was just one of those things here, just being from Newark, being in the city, getting a chance to just play elsewhere. To your point, you said mom kind of let you go a little bit being at St. Rocco's here. How was that for you, just getting an experience just to see different things?
Man, I actually loved it, man, you know, because I never ventured outside of my neighborhood. You know, like I said, I grew up in, you know, Hayes Home Projects in Newark, and we had like 12 buildings with thousands of people living in that area. So all sports was competitive because you had kids from all types of buildings coming out and playing the basketball court, on the football field, or whatever. But just playing at St. Rocco's, it opened me up to a lot of different things and a lot of competition, you know. And it's funny because I still remember my record and everything. Like 7th grade, we played 30 games. In the 7th grade, our team, we played 30 games. Yeah. We were 28-2. And then my 8th grade year, we played 37 games in the elementary. So we was in all types of leagues. You know, St. Rocco's ran a league. Joe D, who's the county exec right now, Joe DeVinzio, he ran a league out of Barringer back then when I was in the 8th grade. Then Paul McPleasant would take us to like different tournaments. So I played a whole lot of basketball in 2 years at St. Rocco's, opposed to my friends who were playing in the Newark League, the Newark Elementary League. They were only playing 9 games. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I was like 9 games. I said, we played that in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So it was a good experience. You know, it opened me up to a lot of different things and got to let me see talented kids that wasn't from my neighborhood. You know, I
Right.
always thought kids in my neighborhood was the best players. There was nobody better than these kids that I looked up to. And when I went to St. Rocco's, it opened my eyes that, you know, there are other players out there in Newark and the surrounding areas.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then was Benedict's, again, I know you said you always wanted to go to Central and eventually ended up there. Was mom trying to pull you anywhere else or yourself besides Benedict's? Was there anything else you was looking to do for high school?
Yeah, when I left St. Rocco's, you know, Catholic schools try to get you to go to Catholic schools. You know, they don't really want you to go public. And, you know, back then, you know, Catholic schools were like dominant for academics. You know,
Yes.
basketball, now they're dominant for kind of both. You know, it wasn't really basketball factories back then. But I got accepted into Seton Hall and I got accepted into Essex Catholic,
Okay.
as well as St. Benedict's. But I wanted to go to St. Benedict's because it was close to my home and they didn't wear uniforms. You know, back then they didn't have to wear uniforms. At Seton Hall and Essex Catholic, you know, you had to wear the blazer with the tie.
Yeah.
And, you know, that just wasn't my, you know, where I came from, that wasn't how we dressed. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to be a part of that. And it's like, I didn't want to change, man. I wanted to be myself. And I think going to those schools that require you to wear the tie, you know, it might change, man. It might have been for the better. I don't know, but it just wasn't what I was looking for.
So when you got to Benedict's, did you know as soon as you walked in, it was like I gotta get up out of here, or was it like you, or did you give it a fair shake in the beginning?
Nah, man. As soon as I got out of St. Rocco, as soon as I graduated, man, I had got a scholarship to go to somebody paid for me to go to the Pocono Invitational Basketball camp.
Okay.
So they tried from the jump. When I graduated St. Rocco, St. Benedict starts school in the summer. They start at the end of June. So I had just graduated and I was supposed to go to the Poconos to this camp and they tried to stop it. And from then on, I wasn't really feeling them because, you know, you taking something away from me. I've never been anywhere overnight until I got that scholarship. You know, somebody paid for me to go to the Pocono camp. And, you know, I went and I started summer school a week later than everybody else. And they were kind of pissed about that. And, you know, it just wasn't me, man. It was my first time interacting with any other race outside of my own.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I adapted to it, but I really didn't want to be there. Like, and academically, that's what got me in. And, you know, like I said, I was trying to fail on purpose because I thought they would put me out and they never put me out. And I couldn't understand why, but they was getting a check from me, you know. Somebody was paying for me to go there. My mom didn't have that money to go. You know, we got a scholarship through what was called back then the Victoria Foundation. I think it's the White Foundation now, but they paid for inner city youth that was underprivileged, that was, you know, had academics. They paid for them to go to these Catholic schools. So I fell in that criteria. So I thought that's why after I got older, I figured that's why they didn't put me out because they was getting money for me.
Yeah, they getting that free dough. Yeah.
Right.
Now, basketball-wise, how did you adapt going there?
Well, back then, you know, freshmen played freshmen. Sophomores played JV, and varsity was juniors, seniors, unless you was just that good.
Okay.
So, you know, I played freshman, and then towards the end of the year, you know how they move kids up when the season's about to end. I played a few games of JV. Then my sophomore year, I played JV, and I played varsity my junior year. And I played, you know, I got some minutes, you know, and Joe Dooley, I don't know if you remember Joe Dooley, he was actually the star of that team. He went on to George Washington University, and I think he's coaching Division I. I know he was on Kentucky's bench years ago, but I think he left and now he's coaching his own, you know, own team. So that was the best player on the team, and I never saw a white guy play the way he played. Like it was, you know, he was jumping and dunking. You know, where I come from, white people couldn't jump. You know,
not doing that.
This guy doing all types of dunks, and I'm like, wow, you know. But it was all right. You know, I mean, I played. You know, I was figured in to be one of the better players my senior year, but like I said, I left and went to Central, and you know, I fit right in at Central. I went right in and started. So it was cool.
Now, interesting. You mentioned how times changed, because if you would have tried that now, you would have had to sit for a quick second, right? The whole transfer thing.
Yeah, and for some reason I didn't have to sit. I don't know what the rules were back then. I don't know what they were doing, but I didn't sit 30 days, and my address never changed. You know, I used the same address I was using, but I think because I went back to my district school.
Okay.
I think back then that was, as long as you went to your district school or something like that, you didn't have to sit out or something. I'm not sure what the rule was, but I didn't sit out the 30 days.
And then so you get this, so you in the midst of things, the city league, everything, man.
Oh man,
how exciting was that for you?
Oh, beautiful, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. When I was at St. Benedict's, I used to go home and they like, who y'all played? And I was like, Don Bosco Tech, who is playing Paramus Catholic, Pope Pius. Like they was like, man, who was these teams y'all playing? And then I like, who y'all? Who played Shabazz? And that game was right. And I used to be like, man, I want to be in the city league. So when I got to Century, man, that city league was something else, man. It was beautiful, man. How the fans supported the school, like the pride in the schools back then was no other, man. I mean, the kids had pride in the games. They would come to the games. The games are packed. If you're not there by halftime, you're probably not gonna get in. You know, that's just how it was. But I love the city league, man, and we won the city league my senior year. You know, so that was even better.
Yeah, because Central got a rich history, as far as basketball players or what have you. To your point, you said y'all won the city league. How'd you guys do? Do you recall the counties as far as how'd you guys?
Yeah, we lost in the county tournament. I want to say we lost in the final 8. We lost to Montclair at that time. They had Kyle Anglin. His sons are actually playing now. I think Dallas, and his other son, I forgot what school he went to, but he should be done in college. But Kyle Anglin, Fred Matthews.
I remember
they had
Fred
Quintus
Matthews,
McDonald. Quintus McDonald went to Penn State for football. So they beat us in the county, man. And we should have won that game. But we had a good squad, man. Like I was playing the 3. Like my center was big 9, 6'6", and big butts at 6'7". So we had some players, you know what I mean? Like we competed.
And to your point, just being in that city league and just county tournaments, all that stuff, it was just electric time. And to your point, as far as gyms being packed, and it was more than a game. It was more than a game. Back then
it was a rivalry, but like on the court, everybody's trying to outdo each other. But off the court, we all were friends. Like some of those guys I played with in the city leagues, I'm still, I'm friends with them to this day, even though they went to another school. But it was just great, man. Like going into Shabazz and coming out, and the gym just packed and everybody chanting, and then we beat them. It was great. Anthony Avent was on that team. I see he did a show with Avent.
Yes.
Avent was like a sophomore when I was a senior. Yeah, so he was just up and coming. So we beat those guys, and it was great. Barringer had Eddie Fahim and Water. Like it was competition throughout the city, man.
Yeah. Now, how was your summers as far as, did you just play summer leagues, or was the AAU was kind of forming around that time? What did you wind up doing for the summers to just, stay in shape and just playing ball?
Well, my after my freshman and sophomore year, was one of the kids at St. Benedict said he was going down to the Newark Y to try out for an AAU team. And at that time, I didn't really know what AAU was. Right. And I was like, well, I'm gonna go down there and try out too. Then, I felt like he going to try out. I know he's not better than me. And a few of us went down there and we made the squad. And at the time it was the Newark Y. Sandy, who runs the Road Runners, was one of the coaches. Brian Crawford, who branched off and did the Newark Rams, was one of the coaches. From Jersey City, I can't think of his name, but he was he brought a lot of the St. Anthony's guys over. Mr. Lawson, his son played at St. Anthony's back when I was coming out. Mr. Lawson, Mr. Wembley ran the program. Yes. So I played at the Newark Y, man, and it was great, man. I mean, I was a 9th grader. They had Mark Bryant down there playing, Allah Abdani that went to Duke, Franz Volsi from Seton Hall, Kenny Wilson, his brother Dow,
Yeah.
Lewis Banks from Camden. I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about David Rivers. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this stuff was serious. Like, practice was serious. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we had A team and a B team. You know, if you was elite, you was on the A team, which is, you know, that's how it's supposed to be. But yeah, we used to get it in, man. I love playing with the Y, man. I played all the way up until I played 3 years after my junior year, you know, and then
Okay.
my senior year, you know, I was about to go to college, so we didn't play. But that was the first time I got on the airplane, man, playing with the North Y.
Yeah, nah, Norquay, a lot of us, I mean, I played, I did like 13, 14 and under down there, but I just remember like the older heads just sitting there, just watching them. Like to your point, you say all those names, it just brings back like memories of those guys, but they were a little before me, but I just remember it was something to be at, walking up them stairs. I don't know what floor the gym was on, but it was on one of the floors. But just going up there and just after we practice, you know, obviously to tell the little young boys get to the side here and just sitting there just watching. It was just something I'll never forget.
Right.
Yeah. So you got the AAU, you did all that stuff, and then you mentioned college. I mean, again, obviously you had the academics being, you know, St. Rocco's, Benedict's, and all that stuff.
Right.
Was college on your brain, like even throughout senior year, high school? Do you know that was something you had to do, or did it just
Well, it was
sneak up on you?
it was something I wanted to do because I played ball and I loved, you know, once I got introduced to it as far as the organized part of it, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I fell in love with the game. You know,
Yeah.
I just wanted to be around the game all the time. And even before I went to college, the summer of my junior year, I was coaching. I started my own team. I was
Mm.
coaching my little brother and them. It was a league in New Community right here in Newark. I used to
Mm-hmm.
hang in New Community when I was in high school, and the guy said he was starting a summer league for kids, but they was gonna have a draft of only the kids in New Community, and they was gonna form teams, and they was gonna have a league. So I hung in there. I was always in a rec center, and I was like, yo, I could bring my own team over here. I got kids in my neighborhood,
Yeah.
you know, my little brother and his friends, and he was like, you know, he looking at me like, man, you 15, 16 years old, you coaching a team? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm gonna get a team together. So he said, you know, he gave me 12 shirts. I went in my neighborhood. I found 12 kids that wanted to play.
Yeah.
We used to practice at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays at different playgrounds in my neighborhood. And we went to the league and we lost in the championship the first summer, and then we won the championship the second summer. And then the third summer it folded. I don't know what happened, but they didn't have it anymore. But so I was actually coaching while I was playing.
Yeah, you put a twist on that player coach thing. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's how I met my good friend Ira Bowman, man.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, he's from New Community, and he used to play against my team, man. This guy used to talk so much junk, man, but he could play. He could play. So that we became good. I followed him after that. You know, after he went to Seton Hall and all that, I started following him.
Mm-hmm.
And we became real good friends to this day. So, you know, that's my guy,
Absolutely.
Ira.
Nah, Ira's special. Yeah, he's special.
Yeah, a good
Nah,
dude, man.
yeah,
Good
I had
dude.
him on. I actually had him on. I had him
Yeah, I
on.
saw that. I saw
Yeah,
that show. I
yeah.
saw that show.
So you coaching at 16, 17, along with playing here. So, because I was gonna bring up the whole coaching itch, but you just said that right there. You just start coaching in. So
Yeah, because that was before I went to college, and
mm-hmm.
just to like, I was supposed to go to Georgetown, man. It was crazy. Mr.
Okay.
Wembley called me. They was going to an AAU tournament at Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
He called me. He was like, "Yeah, we need you to come. We leaving tomorrow morning. Everything's paid for. Blah 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 blah." My mother was like, "Oh, go ahead. You need to get away for the weekend." And I'm like, "Nah, I can't go." I told my mother, I said, "I can't go." She said, "Why you can't go?" I said, "My team got a game tomorrow. Like, I gotta coach my kids. Like, I don't got nobody coaching, and these kids looking forward to the game." So I never told Mr. Wembley, you know, why I didn't go, but I told him I couldn't make it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it rubbed him the wrong way. But back then, I had to be loyal. Like I was
right.
coaching the team, and I thought at this time now, you know, I should have told him the truth, and he probably would have understood. But you know, that's what I didn't go, man. And it was an open event. Like college coaches was going to be there, and I turned it down to coach the kids, man.
Now that says something, though. Obviously, that just kind of foreshadowing all the stuff you done did throughout your life. We were talking about kids and everything. That that right there is a prime example of that here. So that just foreshadowed everything else that you've done and probably sacrificed for the sake of these young kids.
Right,
So
right.
absolutely. So you missed out on the Georgetown thing. So you talk about this college. So how do you decide where you're gonna go?
Well, I had a scholarship offer to Monmouth from playing with, I
Hmm.
still played after that, with the Y. That didn't really damage me,
Hmm.
They still let me play, even though I didn't
Yeah.
go on a trip. So I had Ron Carnegie was the coach at the time, and he was from Newark, and
Hmm.
he had offered me a scholarship. But I dug myself so deep by failing on purpose at St. Benedict's that my
Yeah.
GPA wasn't that high. So I had to have a high SAT score,
Hmm.
to compare with my GPA, and I didn't make it.
Okay.
So I had to go to junior college, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So, and then I always think about that because academically, I was good in academics, and I still had to go to junior college because of I didn't see the bigger picture.
Yes.
When I was a freshman, sophomore, I didn't see that I was really digging myself a hole. So, and one of my goals once I transferred to Central, I wanted to play Division I basketball because I was playing AAU basketball in the summer with a bunch of kids that went Division I. So
Hmm.
what made it so different that I couldn't play Division I? If I'm practicing with these guys and playing against other Division I competition, why wouldn't I be able to play Division I? And I got that scholarship offer and I couldn't take it, so I had to go to a junior college.
Where'd you go to JUCO at?
I went to Keystone Junior College. It's up in it's called La Plume, Pennsylvania. It's like right outside of Scranton, right
Okay.
near Wilkes-Barre. Up in it was only like an hour and 30, 40 minutes away. And my high school coach actually drove me to the visit. And
Hmm.
Mr. Rest in peace, Cleo Hill.
Yes.
He was coaching at Essex County
Essex
College at
County.
the
Yes.
time.
Hmm.
And my big guy, big Naeem, he went down there, and Mr. Hill tried to get me to come down there, but I wanted to see something different, man, because I was in Newark all my life, and I just wanted to go somewhere different. I wanted to leave my community because I never really left my community. So
Hmm.
I just wanted to see how other things were. So I chose, I went to visit Coach Mishko, and he took us on a tour. The campus was small, and it was up in the boondocks. A
Hmm.
big difference from where I was from. Everything shut down 9 o'clock.
Hmm.
So it was just a whole different environment. So I told him I was going to come. He had a lot of guys from Philly that was coming up there, a couple of kids from Maryland. So I said, I might as well give it a shot. So I went up there.
So you get there though, hour and change from back at home. It's still a whole nother world.
Yeah,
How do
definitely.
you adapt?
It was hard at first. You know, the campus was all white, man. I ain't
Yeah.
gonna lie. The
Yeah.
girls basketball team was majority black. The
Hmm.
boys basketball team was 90% black.
Hmm.
So the campus, it just was so different. Like I was never around, people, different people. I was never around different people. And in my mind, where I came from, I always thought all white people were racist,
Yeah.
because I came from a predominantly black community,
Hmm.
no interaction with Caucasian people. So I didn't judge them. I wanted to see for myself.
Hmm.
And the whole time I was there, man, it was nothing but love because we was on a basketball team and we was winning. So,
Yeah.
it was a difference. I don't know if we was losing, it might be different, but they
Hmm.
showed me love, man. My first 3 weeks was tough. I called my mom and told her I wanted to come home. And she was like, well, why you want to come home? I said, I don't want to be up here. Like, I'm not feeling the school. Like,
Hmm.
I miss my friends. I miss my neighborhood. And my mom said, boy, when that basketball season starts, you're going to forget about everybody.
Hmm.
And she was right.
Yeah.
She was right. Once basketball season started, it was a different ball game, man. It was like I was in heaven. Like, I loved that school. I ain't want to leave once my 2 years was up.
Hmm.
I want to. Now they're 4-year school, and it's crazy. They're Division III school now.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I wanted to stay there for the 4 years that I was going to be in college.
So you do well on the court and in the classroom?
Yeah, well, I did. I be honest. basketball took me to college. I wasn't really focused on the academics. I just did what I had to do to stay eligible. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
And again, it hurt me, once my 2 years was up. But my freshman year, I was sixth man. We had a real good team, man. We went to the Division II Junior College National Finals.
Okay.
We went out to Michigan. We lost to Parkland, Illinois. I ain't never seen a team so big, man. They were subbing 6'8" for 6'8". I was like, damn, and our biggest man was like, I think Big Will was probably like 6'6", 6'7", and I was 6'5", and then we kind of evened out around that size. So, but we made it to the championship. We had a very good year. We won the region up here. We beat Passaic County in the Region 19 final, and they beat us in the regular season. We only had 2 losses that year. That was to them and the team we lost to in the junior college championship. So we had a real good team that year, and we had 4 good freshmen. One of them was myself. And actually, one of the best players on our team, Rick Eubanks, he was supposed to go to, he signed with the University of Maryland. He was going to Maryland. And that's when Lynn Byers died, man, that summer, man. That was crazy. Like, so Lefty Giselle, I think he left or they fired. I'm not sure what happened with Lefty Giselle, but he didn't come back as coach after that. So my man didn't get that scholarship, and he ended up never going to college. Like I was like, that was crazy. He was from DC. So and then we come back the next year, we got all this projections to go back to the championship, and it didn't work out that way. The class that came in after us, the freshman class, wasn't as good as our class that came in. So we, it was only really 4 of us, and then a couple of those freshmen were decent, but we didn't have the same level of talent that we had the year before.
Yeah, so it sounds like it was a drastic change from that year before to your second year there.
Yeah, we qualified for the playoffs. We lost in like the second round of Del Tech, down in Delaware. They had a lot of kids from Philly on that team. And we just didn't, I got hurt. Actually, I got hurt coming back off Christmas break. We had practice. I kind of injured my knee, and I missed like 4 or 5 games. But when I came back, I was never 100%. But I still played. And the last game of the season, I got hurt. And that was it. Like, we was done. Like, and I didn't want to leave, man. I love Keystone, man.
Yeah.
For real.
Now, eventually, you did have to go. So where did you go from there?
Again, I wanted to go back home and play because now, back then the Star Ledger used to, they used to follow college basketball, the local college basketball.
Yes.
And I had a few articles in the paper because we played a lot of New Jersey schools. We was in the Region 19. We played Essex. We played Camden. Gloucester County, Morris County, Bergen County. So we was always in New Jersey. And I said, I want to go back home, man. Like, I want to play in front of, my friends, my family. And I got another scholarship, but I wanted to play D1. I had a lot of NAIA schools offering scholarships. And St. Peter's, Bob Duquette, I think was the coach at the time. And my man that was coaching Milburn, Roger Blond, was his assistant. And they told me to come up for a visit. I came home for like Easter break or something like that, or spring break or whatever. I went to St. Peter's for a visit. Big Derek Howell and Lou Rowe was Darren Rowe or Lou Rowe. I can't think what his first name was, but they were they showed me around. And Derek Howell went to Central. He was like 3, 4 years older than me. So he was a senior at St. Peter's at the time. And he showed me around. I loved it. Like, it was like, yeah, we got an offer for you, but as soon as you graduate, you can sign the offer. So I'm like, oh, man, I'm going to St. Peter's. I'm going back. I started telling people. I fell 6 credits short of graduation, man. And my coach said, you can go to summer school for the 6 credits, but you got to pay for it. Like, financial aid wasn't going to pay for it.
Yeah. The
and
summer
I'm like,
school.
wow.
Yeah.
I called my mom, we living in the projects, man. I'm keeping it 100, man. My mother ain't had no money for me to, because then I would have had to find an off-campus apartment and stay up there for 2 months. And nobody had the funds, man.
Yeah.
I didn't have the funds, so I couldn't take the scholarship, man. I was heard about it, but I couldn't blame nobody but myself, you know what I'm saying? Because I put myself in that situation.
Mhm.
But so my coach told me it was a new program starting up in New Jersey called Caldwell College.
Okay.
It'll be the first program they ever had. I talked to the coach, and he was a slick talker. He was good, man. He was a slick talker.
Mhm.
Sold me a dream. All these players he was recruiting, I was coming there, and I said, all right, I'm gonna come there. So after I left Keystone, I went to Caldwell, which is
Okay.
Caldwell University now. They was NAIA when I went there. They're Division II now.
Yeah, no, they definitely don't progress. So you go to Caldwell, and so you there? Are you on the first team ever there?
Yeah, I'm on the first team ever. They got us on the wall in the new gym. They got a picture of
Mhm.
the first team up there, and it's an honor when every time I walk in there, I see that. It's like, that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, nah, definitely. You mentioned the slick talking, so I'm gonna say it must be something about some playing time and everything else with the slick talking
Nah, I
coaching.
mean,
Okay,
I was the star of the team, to be honest with you. I was the
okay,
biggest recruit that he had got, because I
okay.
came from Keystone. We had a history of winning. I was
Mhm.
from Newark. He had Ken DeLeo, who came from Morris County, so I played against him. He had a decent freshman class, a couple of kids from Jersey City, a kid from Elizabeth. A lot of kids from Patterson was on the team.
Okay.
But he had about myself and about 5 other junior college transfers. So we were the oldest guys on the team, you know what I mean? So we went 14-19 the first year I was there. And when I say slick talker, like, he did have a good team. We played 7 Division I schools, man.
Okay.
First
Okay.
year out the back. We
Yeah,
played
yeah.
7, and you know what I'm saying? So when I saw the schedule, that made me want to go there as well, because I'm like, wow, I get a chance to play against
Mhm.
Division I teams, like not just one. He
Mhm.
got 6 or 7 of them on the schedule. Then we played the University of Tampa, who was like the top 5 Division II team in the country. So
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, this guy really scheduled some teams right out the bat.
Mhm.
So that's what made me go there. But it was some kids he said was coming that never came, and I don't think they ever was coming. But that was just a way to get me there.
Mhm.
And it worked out for the most part. It kind of bringing me back home kind of brought me back to the street life by coming back home. I think I should have went away. Like, I shouldn't have came home, but I came home, and it is what it is.
Yeah. So being obviously Caldwell, that's just a 280 shot down the north.
Right. And I
Yeah.
was jumping on the 29 bus. I ain't had no car. I'm jumping on the
Mhm.
29 bus going down Bloomfield Avenue, downtown Newark, catch the
Mhm.
25 up, and I'm home. You know.
Yeah. Wow. So even with that being said, did you ultimately graduate, or did you, as far as
No,
from
I
Caldwell?
graduated. I graduated from Caldwell. I left
Okay.
Caldwell as well. That coach stayed 1 year. He did
Yeah.
well, man. He went 14-19 for a first year program. He competed. We
Right.
lost to
Right.
FDU. We lost FDU and TNET. They had Jamie Latney, Dimitri Riddick or something like that. That was their 2 stars. We took them to overtime. FDU. We lost
Mhm.
to Ryder by like 8. We played Townsend in Maryland. I think we lost by like 13. Like, we was competing, but we just wasn't winning. I mean, Tampa blew us out. Tampa's beat us by 50. So,
Mhm.
we went to Florida. We went on a trip to Florida. So when I saw these things on the schedule, I'm like, we're going to Maryland, we're going to Florida. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to that school because we playing
Mhm.
good competition, and I want to see where I'm at. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So he left and went. He did 1 year, and then he left and went to a school in Pennsylvania. I can never remember what the name of the school was, but he bounced on us, man. He kind of used us to get another job, and I ain't mad at him because I guess as I got older, I see that's the business. You
It's
know
a
what I'm saying?
business. Yeah,
Right.
no, absolutely. And you mentioned the streets and everything getting pulled back, into the streets or what have you there. So was it just a struggle with yourself here as far as to get up out of them, or just the lure of it? I mean,
Nah,
again, because I
man.
know Zoo Crew and all that stuff down that way.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I dove deeper, man. My friends would come to the game. Like, they was my biggest supporters, man. My friends, they would come to the game 20, 25 deep,
Yeah.
and like you said, Caldwell right off 280. So
Hmm.
they shooting right up 15, 20 minutes, and they would come to the game, and they They was different, man. They got the gold ropes on,
Yeah.
the long black trench coats. They
Mm-hmm.
hitting me off with money. Everybody pulling out a knot, and I'm like, what the hell? What's going on? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to get some of this money too. Like, I don't want nobody giving me nothing. I'll go get it myself. So, you know, I kind of started leaving campus, going home, and getting caught up in the street life with the drugs, you know, not using them. I never used any drugs, but just selling them in the streets and making money while I'm in college, not even realizing you in college, man. What are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? And I had another year left. I had actually had another 2 years. I had another year to play, and I had to do an extra year to graduate because when I transferred, you know, when you transfer, you lose credits.
With them credits, yeah.
So I lost credits and I had to do an extra year. But my senior year, as far as basketball, it wasn't the same. You know, I averaged 20 and like 9 my junior year, and then my senior year, I was like 16.7 rebounds. But we had a different coach whose style was a little different. And but I was more focused on the streets than I was with basketball. So that kind of hurt me. And after my junior year, I had received a letter to come try out for a pro team in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
So somebody told me, well, if you go try out and you don't make the team, you forfeit your senior year because you actually, you forfeit your eligibility. So I'm like, wow, well, if they sent me a letter now, you know, next year, I should be good. And I didn't have the same type of year. You know, we won more games. We flipped the schedule. Flipped the record. We were 19-14. And we had a better season. And we played about 4 or 5 Division I schools again because he had already made the schedule before he left. So we played another 4 or 5 Division I schools after that. So, you know, I held my own. I scored 1,000 points up there in 2 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a record that still stands for 2 years. You know, I'm actually like 8th on the all-time scoring list up there, but everybody that's ahead of me did it in 4. You know, I did it in 2 years. So I had a good career, man. I'm proud of what I did in college, you know, and I finally got inducted into the Hall of Fame there about 3 years ago.
Good stuff. Congrats.
And yeah, thank you, man. And I think the street part of it took me so long to get in because there's no way I played on the first team up there and the first player ever to score 1,000 points at that school. And it took you 30 years to induct me into the Hall of Fame. So, you know, I was a little bitter, you know, behind it, but I already knew what it was, you know, my street life, you know, and they probably didn't want to be associated with it. But it's cool, though. I'm in now, so.
Yeah. Now, even you mentioned being out in the streets as far as what pulled you out ultimately?
What pulled me out of the streets?
Ultimately, yeah.
Well, seeing people going to jail, man. You know, I started being in the streets in like 87, 88. And, you know, back then, that's when, you know, everybody was in the streets, man. Everybody was getting money. I don't care what city or state you was in. The hoods was getting money. It was the crack era, you know, cocaine was the drug of choice as well as the crack, and everybody was getting money. And I still graduated college. I had a couple of run-ins with the law before that, but I graduated in 1990, and I stayed in the streets until like 96, 97. So I had a college degree, man, and I wasn't even looking for a job. Like, I managed to maneuver in the streets for 7, 8 years after graduating college when I should have been 7, 8 years into my field or what I graduated college in. But a few of my friends went to jail in like 97. It was a federal raid.
Okay.
And I went, you know, somebody called me and said, you know, they locking up members of the zoo crew. 6 o'clock in the morning, they called me. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, they done locked up such and such, such and such. So I'm like, damn. I went downstairs and sat in the living room, like I said in the documentary, man. I sat there and waited for them to kick the door in. Like, where I'm going. I don't have no family nowhere. All my family right here in Newark. If they looking for me, I got to own up to whatever it is, you know, they looking for me for. So they never kicked my door in, man. And from there, I just gave it up. I said, you know what? I got to go find a job.
Okay.
And in February 98, I found a job at Essex County Mental Health, working with the mentally ill as a case manager.
And then from there, it just led to you ultimately just getting back into the education world as far as coaching and just being around that, because that's great. Again, with the college degree, being on the streets, and again, you're one of probably a few people that have done that. That money was out there, and
Yeah, it was there, man.
yeah, it was there to take. Yeah, it was.
And it was fun. You know, nobody wasn't hurting nobody. And I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when I look back on it, we was hurting our community. But
Mhm.
these were grown adults coming to spend their money. You know, nobody was putting a gun to their head. And then I know
Mhm.
families was affected
Right.
by it, by them, you know, spending the money on the drugs. But you ain't looking at that at 21, 22 years old, man, 23 years old. You just thinking, I'm just out here trying to get some money, man. I ain't hurting nobody. But as you get older, you start to realize, yeah, you know, you played a part in what's going on in your community right now. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? But I actually started Zoo Crew basketball in '96. Like I used to still coach summer teams in
I
different
was gonna
leagues in
ask.
Newark,
Okay.
but not as Zoo Crew. I was using another name that I was playing under. NWA was the name of my summer league team that I played with. And
Mhm.
I used to coach kids, and that was the name we used. And then '96, I took some kids to try out for Brian Crawford for the Newark Rams.
Okay.
And a couple of kids made it, few didn't. And some of them kids, I thought they could have made it. And then, you know, no disrespect to Brian, you know, I was my first AAU coach. He gave the kids a letter that required them to pay X amount of dollars. You know, now it costs to be on the AAU team. And too many sponsor teams running around.
Mhm.
And they didn't have the money. So I kind of was dwindling away from the streets. And I went back to my block and I talked to my man Lamar, and he was like, "Why don't you start your own team?"
Right.
And I was like, "Start my own team. I don't know how to do that. You know, I don't know nothing about no AAU. Like I knew about it, but I didn't know nothing about traveling and going to tournaments." And I called Brian. I called Brian Crawford, and I spoke to him, and he gave me some tournaments to look up and go to, and I started my own team from kids from the neighborhood. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And they wanted to be involved. And, you know, there was a lot of kids in my neighborhood, the area of Chadwick and Clinton Avenue, that wasn't involved in anything. They was just hanging around. So I started the program with about 12 to 14 kids. And we practiced right in the neighborhood playground where I was living at the time. We had moved out the projects by this time. And we
Okay.
was living on Chadwick Avenue. And the kids was coming, man. And we formed a team and we started traveling. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And became competitive. Like,
Right. And then that's just a jewel. Some people sometimes don't even realize, like I said, B could have just kind of just not even paid you no mind, or just, but
right.
he now obviously he pulled you to the side like, hey, these tournaments are this and that. And and that's just love right there too. And to your point in regards to, even you said starting with 12, and ultimately what was one of the biggest turnouts as far as kids did? You started with 12, did it get into the 50s,
Yeah, well,
100s?
it got into, well, back then, you know, a lot of my kids was the community kids. You know, you
Yeah.
had local kids in the area, then they would bring their friends. Like I had a lot of kids that played for Shabazz because that was the area I was in.
Hmm.
Um, I had kids that went to Weekway. Like my kids they was going to all different schools. And then when they got in the 8th grade, they started going to different schools. People started asking me, where this kid going? Now, you know,
Yeah.
I wasn't coaching at Central at the time.
Hmm.
And nobody wanted to go to Central at the time because Central just wasn't good at that time. You know what I'm saying? In the 90s, they kind of fell off. Early 2000s, they fell off. And so I just started, you know, sending kids to East Side, Shabazz, like different schools. And, you know, they started winning. Like that whole Shabazz team that lost in the tournament champions to St. Anthony's back in 2001. Those was all my
Hmm.
guys. Davon
Yeah.
Giles,
Giles and
Lil
all. Yeah.
Dennis, Marcus. Those were my kids I had since they was in like 7th, 8th grade.
Hmm.
And you know, I had a lot of kids. Davon Giles went off to Texas Tech. You know, he had to
Hmm.
go to junior college. I had Reggie Larry, played at Boise State. Like I had a lot of kids that went off to college. A lot of them had to go junior college route
Hmm.
because it wasn't, you know, taking the school seriously. And I always used to tell them, you know, they used to come back and say, my teacher said I can't go to college. And I used to be like, why you can't go to college? My
Right.
grade's too bad. And I used to say, man, don't listen to your teacher, man. That's what junior college is for. You get a fresh start. You just got to go the other route.
Hmm.
Now, if you want to play, you're going to have to go that other route. You know what I'm saying? But it used to bother me when teachers tell kids you can't go to college with those grades. And you can go to college with those grades. You know what I'm saying? But it turned out good, man. I used to be in West Kenny Gym again, Mr. Hill, and it's
Hmm.
crazy because I didn't go to Essex County, and he was kind of hot about that.
Hmm.
Years later, he was working a 6 to 9 program for Newark Public Schools.
Yeah.
And he saw me in the playground practicing with the kids. And he was like, hey, McCray, come here. And he's like, what you doing? I said, I'm coaching kids, Mr. Hill. This is what I do now. He said, you don't have a gym? And I said, nah, man, we come in the playground and we practice. He said, man, Fridays is open here at West Kenny. You can practice here from 6 to 8. And for about 6, 7 years, I went to West Kenny in the wintertime. Like, he would open up the gym for me and I'll go in there and we have, we go and practice. And, we used to be in that gym with one full court with about 60 kids, man, ages like 12 to 18. And they would all practice together. So the little jokers would get beat up on. Then as they got
that's
older,
how they learn, yeah.
Yeah, but as they got older, they start beating up on the younger ones behind them. And the kids got better and better and better just off of practicing. We practiced 1 day a week. And we competed, with a lot of different teams, man.
Yeah, and like you said, rest in peace, Mr. Hill. Like it's his, me and his youngest son, Cleon, like to this day, are like really, really cool and good people. And actually, he helps me out a lot with this as well too. So, and it's funny as you mentioned, Mr. Hill said McCray, because I know that's what he called. He never called nobody by their first name. So when you said that, I kind of chuckled to myself. Yeah,
but me and Cleo came out the same year. Cleo was at Orange. I mean Reggie Miller. And we played in the Essex Hudson game together. So, I played with Cleo and Reg, from Orange. But yeah, Mr. Hill was a good guy, man. He used to tell me about the basketball history and the things he went through when he was in the NBA. And I used to be like, wow. Like, I love talking to the old heads, man, because I give the old heads their respect when it comes to basketball. Right. You know what I mean? A lot of the young kids don't know the history of basketball in the city of Newark. Like, we used to have 3 teams ranked in the top 20 back in the 70s. You know what I'm saying? Like, jokers used to go Division I straight out of high school. The year I went to Central, the year before that, Terrence Warren went to UConn. He was a big point guard, like 6'4". He was a year ahead of me, but he had left when I came to Central. But he went to UConn. He played in the real Big East. You know what I'm saying? For UConn. Before UConn was UConn, but at that time, he played in the Big East against Georgetown, St. John's, Syracuse, when they was at the top of their game.
Yeah. You said something. I just take back real quick. The Hudson, Essex County, that was an all-star game back when?
Yeah, it was an all-star game.
I never knew that. That's why I
knew the Essex Hudson game, man. That was a big game. They did a girls game and they did a boys game. So the best players in Essex County would play every year against the best players in Hudson County. And we would play at St. Peter's University.
Wow. Okay. I just obviously the North-South game and all that. Obviously,
right. No, this was before the North-South. That's why the Essex Hudson game was really like the only all-star game going on back then. And then they came up with the North-South. Now they don't even do the Essex Hudson game anymore. It used to be all right. It was always at St. Peter's.
Okay. Yeah. See, I learned something. I never even knew. Now even coaching the kids over the Zoo Crew, having that program here. Obviously, Central's your alma mater. Is that your first stop as far as getting coaching gig in high school, or is there something else before that?
No, it's my first stop. I had Luke Grimsley had wanted me to come coach at Shabazz. When you play or grow up in Newark and you go to a certain high school, well, that's just me. I mean, I can't go help another high school and not go to my own. So I told him, thanks for the offer, but no. Eastside, when Ed Leibowitz was there, this was right around the time when Eastside got caught up in the little scandal with the kids from France living in an apartment by themselves and things like that. So I didn't go there. I was almost going there, but I didn't go there. And then one day we was playing in Newark Public Schools used to run a summer league. Okay. And Mr. Blue, who was the coach at the time at Central, was running the league. And I used to put my team in the league all the time. And he was like, "Why don't you come coach at Central?" And I'm like, "Coach at Central?" He was like, "Yeah, I'd love to have you on the bench." And I don't know if he was trying to get me to, because if I come coach there, of course,
some kids coming.
Yeah, the kids probably gonna come. And I was like, "Nah, Mr. Blue, that ain't really what I want to do. If I do that, I'm gonna lose touch with the community." Because, I was hands-on in the community with the kids. I feel as though if I come to Central, now I have to deal with the kids that's in the building, and I'm going to kind of lose touch with, the kids that's in the community. So I thought about it. Maybe a year or two later, I told them, I would do it. And I had to go, I went down to, he told me go down to the board, get a sub packet, because you know, you only needed 60 credits to coach, but I had my degree. So he said I was good. All you got to do is fill out the paperwork. And the paperwork came back and they denied me, man. I had a charge from back in '88, I think it was. I had copped out the probation, and it was still on my record, which I didn't even know. You know what I mean? And I was working at Essex County Mental Health at the time, and that's a state job, and it wasn't no problem there. So I spoke to Miss Annette Williams, who was director of athletics for Newark Public Schools at the time. She was a great help. She used to coach Shabazz girls before Miss Watson became the coach. And yeah, she was a great help. She was like, I see what you do with the kids in the community. We would love to have you working for NPS. And she said, I told her, you know, what was going on. She said, well, how old is the charge? And I told her it was like 88, 89. This was 2002 at the time. And she said, well, just get it expunged off your record. And I'm like, expunged? She was like, yeah, this is what you do. She walked me through the steps. I did the paperwork. I sent everything off. I coached the freshman and the JV at Central my first year, and I didn't get paid. I was a volunteer. Like, I did it because that's how much I wanted to be. You know, I love the game.
Central,
so I'm sure somebody got those checks, but I didn't even get paid, and nobody gave me nothing under the table, and they didn't put my name on no paperwork because technically I wasn't supposed to be coaching.
Right.
I was a volunteer, and then my paperwork came back. In 2003, you know, I became a paid coach on the staff, and I just coached the JV. He hired a freshman coach for the next year, and after that, it was history, man. That freshman team I had, they was good, man. They was good. They was better than anybody in the school. My first year at Central, we was 0-18, man. Yeah. It was the worst basketball I was around in my life as a player, as a coach, ever. Like, I thought this wasn't something I wanted to do, but I wasn't the head coach. So, you know, my freshmen in JV, they was winning. So I was good. You know, after the varsity lost, because back then varsity played at 4. My JV played at 5:30. We was winning. I ain't had no problem. I just used to tell those guys, don't bring that negative energy down to my JV practices. Right. Because I ain't beat. Like, I'm trying to win. So by the time those freshmen became seniors, we went 0-18. And I don't forget numbers, man. We was 0-18, then we went 4-16, then we went 8-12, and that senior year they was 22-4, man. They went to the state final. We lost to Hattonfield when they had Brian Zubek. 4 years later, they was in that freshman class, made it to the state final. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I love taking the kids that nobody don't want. Because I'm going to work with them, and if they buy into what I'm trying to tell them, we're going to compete. I ain't saying we're going to win a state championship every year, but we're not going to be that team on the schedule that people look at and say, oh, we play Central, oh, that's a win. We play such and such, that's a win. You know, people go down their schedule and be like, oh, we're going to beat them. It's not like that. So I kind of helped change the culture, man, because 20 years, Central went to the state final in '86. The year after I left, they went to the state final when they lost to Salem. 20 years. It took them 20 years to get back. 20 years. It was down and nobody would go there. Everybody went to East Side or Shabazz or University Science. Nobody wanted to go to Central. You know, now, you know, we changed the culture a little bit there. You know, we compete against everybody, whoever we play. And I don't duck nobody. You know what I'm saying? I play anybody.
Nah, and that's how it should be. To your point, you're trying to compete here. Now, you remember your first win at Central?
Yeah, and that's funny, man, because I took over the next year after we lost in the state final. Actually, the AD and the principal, who was there when I was a student there, they was trying to push the coach out. And I wasn't really feeling it because he asked me to come here. I didn't come here to take his job. Right. You know what I'm saying? I came here to help turn the program around and get us back to what I know Central used to be. And they told him, you know, they tried to push him out. He was going to grieve it. So they let him stay that year and be the coach. And we went to the state final. So he went out, you know, good. They told him, we're going to give you another year. But most of those kids I had kids transfer in, was my Zuku kids. Like, they blended in with those freshmen I had. And I had a kid transferred from, 2 kids came from at the time, Bloomfield Tech. They was playing for Nick up at Bloomfield Tech. 2 of my kids came to Central. Another kid from Shabazz came over. So kind of blended in with those guys, and we formed a good team. And that next year was my first year coaching, man. We was 0-5, man. I was going through it. We was right there losing by 1, 2 points.
Yeah.
I think my first win was against Weequahic in the Christmas tournament. We lost to Barringer in the first round, and then we had to go into the consolation round. We played Weequahic, and we beat Weequahic. I got my first win. So it took a lot of took the monkey off my back, man. I just was like, wow, I can't even get a win, man. I can't get a win. I had a decent squad returning from that. We were senior dominated, that team that lost in the championship, but I had some good young players coming up. And we made the state tournament that year, because back then you had to be 500 to make the tournament. It wasn't the power points and all that stuff. So it was a little harder back then. Like, you had to be 500 at a certain time in the season and to get in. Now it's power points. You could be 2-12 and make the state tournament. Like, that's just crazy.
Oh, no, it isn't. Speaking of crazy, how crazy is your first win against Weequahic? No, obviously, years past the City League when they blew that up, which they should have never did. But to your point, you obviously get that first W against Weequahic. So I know just the irony of that.
Well, I mean, it started. I think we won because we started off 0-5. I think I finished the year like either 13-12 or 14-12.
Okay.
But so we won 13, 14 games in the midst of losing, going on 5, and we lost like 7. So we finished after the Christmas tournament, we had a better run. And I've always noticed, since I've been coaching at Central, January has always been good to me. Like, no matter how I do in December, you know, I always have 1 or 2 losses in January, and it kind of, you know, it builds the team going into the county tournament, state tournament. You know, so January always been good to me, though.
Nah, and that's good stuff. And I know just being at Central, just like, not only meant a whole lot because you went there, but just thinking about the kids. I mean, now you're in the building, but you're still in the community. Like, you know, just how important was your presence, like, off the court?
My presence in the building?
Off the court, just your presence. How important you felt, you know, that had to be as far as your presence even off the court. Obviously, we know who you are on the court, but how important your presence had to be off the court?
I mean, I think, you know, my presence off the court, like, and that was one of the reasons I got out of the streets too. Well, I was moving towards getting out of the streets even before, you know, a year later that happened with my friends, because I felt I'm coaching kids. There's no way I could have a kid. I'm telling them, you know, do the right thing. And then they come around the block and they see me standing out there hand in hand. And, you know, I never wanted kids to see that, because I think I'm being a hypocrite by telling you to go this way, but here I am standing here doing it. You know what I mean? So I always tried to be not perfect, because nobody's perfect. Like, I just always tried to do the right things around the kids when I'm in the community and I'm in their presence. I never steered them wrong. Like, I'm going to give you as much positive advice as I can give you. You're going to do what you're going to do, regardless of what I tell you. But I'm telling you, because I've experienced a lot of the stuff that y'all think is the right thing to do, which is not. Like, you've been in these streets now, especially nowadays, like there's nothing positive out here at all. Yeah. I don't care if you're trying to get money. I've seen people with money, I've gotten money, and now I'm like everybody else. Like, I always think about, if I still had that money, I could do. I don't got it no more. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm living. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I just think if you're going to interact with kids, you have to lead them in the right direction. Like, I don't like negative people around kids, because kids pick up on things, and you know, if they respect you and they want to be like you, they'll start doing the things you're doing. You know what I'm saying? But if you show them negativity, that's what they'll, you know, lean towards. And even with my Zuku kids, man, I get guys that want to volunteer, and they'll come around, they smelling like weed, and it's like, bro, you can't be around the kids like
Right.
that.
Right.
What you mean? If I smell it, the kids smell it, and I'm sure these parents smell it. Like, that's not what we're trying to portray with our program. You know, we valued our program on doing the right things. You know what I'm saying? Even though we didn't have the best players, like, we want to work with kids that want to be worked with. You know, you don't got to be elite to play with, to play with us. And that's why I never really had a lot of volunteers, because guys couldn't put the street stuff aside to deal with the kids. Because if you're intertwined in the streets and you're dealing with kids, you're putting people in jeopardy. You know,
Yes.
you're coaching kids, and if somebody looking for you, you're putting other people in harm's way. So I think just being around kids, you got to have a positive presence, a positive influence. I mean, like I said, nobody's perfect, but you just keep certain stuff away from the children so they'll be like, like if I curse, oh gee, you be cursing? They kind of surprised, like, well, I ain't know you curse. Yeah, I mean, I'm human. I might slip up and curse somebody out every now and again, but just got to be a positive influence when you're dealing with kids, man. And I always thought I portrayed myself to be positive when I was in the community.
Yeah, and to your point, your actions and stuff and words had to line up. Had to line up with one another.
Definitely.
And to your point with kids got the best BS radar ever. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you selling them, shooting them a dope fiend and all this other. They gonna smell it a mile away.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So and that made sense as far as to your point, as far as coaching and not being on the block here. How does Best Shots? How does that find you guys? I mean, how did that go down?
Best Shot, man. That probably was the best accomplishment so far in my life, man. I have a store in Newark, on 16th Avenue. It wasn't even open yet. This was in June. I want to say June 2017. I opened my store July 1st, 2017. So I wasn't even open yet. I just happened to be there, trying to get stuff together so, I could open on July 1st. And a lady just came up, like, Australian lady. I'm on 6th Street, number blocks in Newark that nobody really likes to be on the number blocks, but I'm there, and a lady just walks in the store. I don't know how she found me. I never spoke to her before she came there. And she's like, "How you doing? Are you Coach OG?" And I'm like, "Yes, how you doing?" And she was like, "Yeah, how you doing? I came to meet you." And I'm like, "You came to meet me? How you even knew I was here?" Like, she was like, "No, well, somebody told me you had a store." I said, "The store not even open yet." So, like, you know what I'm saying? And we just got into a conversation, and she was like, "Yeah, we're thinking about doing a documentary on you." So, my street senses kick in.
Oh, of course.
I'm like, documentary? Like, first of all, who are you?
Don't sound like a good thing, yeah, with the street sense documentary.
And I'm thinking Zoo Crew, that's what I'm thinking. And she just started talking. I'm working with Boardwalk Pictures, and she started naming these people. She never said LeBron James, never said Jay Will. So I'm like, documentary. So we started talking. She asked me what type of team I got coming back. And I'm telling her, I think we got a real good team coming back. I got a great group of kids. And she was like, about maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes. She said, "Okay, somebody's going to call you in a couple of days." So I gave her my number, and a couple of days, somebody called. Somebody called me from LA. And they was like, "How you doing? I'm the producer for the show we doing. We're trying to find a basketball coach in the inner city that has a relationship with the kids on and off the court." So I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Serious?" He was like, "Yeah, I work with Boardwalk Pictures. Look this up." So after we hung up, I went on, internet on my phone. I pulled up Boardwalk Pictures. I seen that they did something with Nicki Minaj. They did something Mike Tyson. And I'm like, "Oh, man, this might be some real stuff." So the guy was like, "Yeah, somebody's going to reach out to you in 2 weeks." Everything is timed with these people, man.
2 weeks, couple of days,
like timing is real when you in that, in that profession. And 2 weeks later, I got another call, and the guy was like, it was July, because I was running my summer camp at this time, and he was like, "Yeah, me and my guy, we're gonna fly out from LA. We're gonna be in New York next week. Where are you gonna be on July 17th at 12 o'clock?" And I'm like, well, I run a camp. I'll be in my basketball camp. And they was like, well, where's the camp located? We'll be there at 12 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right. 12 o'clock, man. I'm looking out the window. I see two white guys pull up. I said, I know it's like 11:58.
Okay.
And they came in. It was like, how you doing? I went in the back room. My man, was still running the camp. Went in the back room. We talked for about an hour. And it was like, yeah, we interested in doing a documentary. They said, it's either you, we got a coach in Philly, a coach in Brooklyn. So I'm like, coach in Philly, coach in Brooklyn. It was like, yeah, well, we interviewing all three. They never told me who the coaches were. And when they left, I said, man, they ain't picking me, man. I said, Newark compared to Brooklyn, Philly, I'm looking Brooklyn, Philly, they national, Newark, small town, no professional teams. Like, they ain't coming back here. Yeah. And they called me like, I want to say a week after that. They hooked me up on Skype, told me to get a laptop. And I hooked it up. It was like, yeah, 5 o'clock, we're going to cue you in. You come in and talk to some other producers. So when they cued me in, I looked, it's like 8 people. Sitting in there, and I'm talking about, they throwing all types of questions at me and just digging into my history. And he was like, all right, coach, we'll get back to you. I said, well, what you mean? How did I do? He's like, no, we'll get back to you, coach. They just like left me hanging. And I was like, oh, man. And then like 2 weeks later, they called me. They was like, we're going to do North Central. And I was like, word. And he was like, yeah, we coming out there in November. Well, they said first we have to get clearance from the Board of Education, this and that. So this was in August, they told me that. End of August, they told me. So they was like, yeah, by November, we're going to come do a pre-filming. We're going to come film your Zuku practice with the little kids. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. And they came, they started filming. And I was like, yeah, we're going to start filming at your first tryout. And I was like, wow. And when I saw him come with the cameras and all that, I seen the setup. I said, oh, man, this some real, this some real stuff. Still never said nothing about LeBron. They never said nothing about Jay Will until the first practice. That first day we had tryouts. They called me downstairs. They was like, yeah, we got somebody that's going to come over. He's going to help you coach this season, or he's going to be here. Not really help you coach, but he's going to be here with the kids practicing. And I'm like, well, who's that? And he was like, we'll let you know when he gets here. And then Jay came, and I was like, oh, wow, Jay Will. I'm like, oh, wow, that's what's up. Like, I was always a fan of Jay. He played with the Rams.
Jersey boy. Yeah, Jersey boy.
Right. He played with the Rams, and he played with the Skyliners. And when I first started doing Zoo Crew, T-Bone and Artie was like, they used to call me, and we used to scrimmage Skyliners all the time. I never played against Jay Will, but, when he came, I was like, wow, like, we really on to something. Then they started talking about LeBron and this and that, and I was like, oh, wow. And it was great, man. It was a great experience. They never got in the way, man. And the crazy part, a lot of people was like, wow, y'all worked on that scene? I said, we didn't work on those scenes. All that stuff was real. Like, they ain't pulled me to the side and say, coach, stand over here while we, everything they filmed was like actually happening. Even the part where we met with Zaire. He said he was about to transfer.
He's going to go Benedict's, right? Yeah.
Right. Jay Will came in the locker room. He said, coach, could you come in the hallway for a second? I'm like, what's going on? He's like, we about to talk to Zaire and his mother. I said, talk to him about what? He said, Zaire thinking about leaving. So I walked into the gym, not even knowing. He told me as we was walking into the gym, and I was like, what? He's about to transfer. And it was crazy, man. Like people was like, yeah, you ain't know he was gonna leave. I was like, nah, not until I walked in the gym and we had the little conversation. And I was like, damn, like, is that serious? Like, but it was great, man. The kids loved it. They got a lot of Quan and Hottie. Everybody loved them two guys. They got so much.
Funny you mentioned that. I apologize, it's cutting you because I'm gonna forget. Now, when I told my wife, I was gonna have a conversation with her, she asked me, what happened? What is Quan up to? I'm like, you remember the show? This is the other day. I was like, you remember it? She's like, oh yeah, no, I remember it. She's like, I was like, yeah, I just started laughing. I just had to laugh.
Yeah, he around. He trying to do something with the guy Michael Warren that actually did the documentary, the director.
Okay.
So he's trying to do something with him, but he's around. He's trying to find himself. He ain't get caught up in nothing since we, left school. I think he's working with his mom up at Montclair State, if I'm not mistaken. But, you know, he's around. So, you know, it was great for them guys. You know, they got a little fame off of it. They would ask to do like different interviews, and I would take them to the interviews. It was always Quan, Isaiah, and Hadi. Those was the people that everybody loved. You know, they loved Isaiah's story. And just Hadi and Quan was just characters. Quan, and as you can see in the documentary, he was trying to find himself.
Right.
That year off, or that year and a half off, killed him, because he was a great player at his size before he got that injury, you know, with his leg. So he never became that player that we always thought he was going to be because of the stolen car incident. Yeah. So, you know, man, and, you know, Hadi just was, you know, he's one of them kids that you just love, man. He's a great kid, man, great kid.
But even with the docket, and I'm glad you pointed that out, like, you know, as far as nothing was scripted here, you know, in regards to now, even my question to you is just like, you've probably been asked a million times, but obviously you got Jay coming down to be by your side here. I mean, again, did that even phase you as far as just having an extra voice, or, you know, somebody who's played at the highest of levels, to, you know, giving you input, and the kids might veer off towards listening to him more than you? That was you never thought that to become an issue?
He was never in the way either. That's what I'm saying. He kind of, you know, if he had something to say, I would let him say it. Like, I didn't be like, nah, Jay, this not, you know, because you got basketball knowledge too. And I don't have an ego. Like, even with my assistants, I'll let my assistants, whatever, you see something, like if it's 3 seconds left in the game and Coach Tyson say, look, I got this play, I draw it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm that guy that I don't have a problem with somebody else stepping in, as long as I think you're saying what I think you should be saying. Yes. Like, if I think you're saying something that's not what we're doing, then nah, I don't want you, you know, telling my kids anything, because that's not what we're doing. But nah, Jay was great, man, and the kids loved him. And when we went to Duke, man, they saw how, I was even amazed, man, when we went to Duke, and how the students on the campus showed Jay so much love, and he's been gone from there like 20 years. Yeah. So it shows you that they show the history of the people that came through there, for those kids to still know who he was, and they like 18, 19, you know, Jay got to be late 30s, early 40s. So, and these kids knew him, and it was, you know, it was great. Like, just going on that whole trip to Duke, like, it was just a great experience, man, because a lot of that stuff my kids was doing for the first time, I was doing for the first time, playing golf, you know, being in camera, the camera, watching it on TV and actually being there, man, I was like, man, this is crazy. And that gym's so little, man. I didn't realize how small that gym was.
Yeah, I heard.
And it's just crazy. And then we walk into the area where the Cameron Crazies was. They looking at us like, yo, how the hell y'all doing?
Y'all taking their spots.
Right. Then they saw Jay, and they like, oh, Jay. Okay. I'm like, wow, look at this. And he bought all the kids' Duke stuff, all that stuff we had on. He bought it in the bookstore. He was like, we going to the game. Y'all got to have on some Duke attire. And I'm like, Jay, I don't know if I could wear Duke, man. He like, nah, you got to put it on. I'm a Louisville, you know, I'm a Louisville guy, man. I'm like, I don't know, Jay. But I said, you know what? It's for a good cause. I'm going to put it on. I never wore that shirt again, though. But, you know, it was a great experience for me and the kids, man. The kids had a lot of fun with that stuff, man. And just the pre-screening before it even came out, man, they flew me out to LA for 5 days, man. I was in Hollywood. Okay. I ain't had to pay for nothing, man. I'm like, yo, this how the rich people live? Like, they partying every night. They like, Coach, come on, we going over here. And I'm like, wow. They like, Coach, you want to stay a couple more days? I said, nah, I got to go back to work, man. Like, I ain't getting paid to be out here. I'm like, nah, I mean, I thank y'all for bringing me out. I ain't had to pay for nothing. And
whole nother life.
Great. Yeah, they flew me to Miami. I was in Miami for like 2 days. So I'm just riding the wave, you know what I'm saying? But it was great. They was gonna do Best Shot 2 last season, but COVID messed that up. So I don't know what they're gonna do. They ain't reached out to me, you know, this year, nothing. But last year they reached out to me. They was like, how good is your team? And I was like, no, we got a good team. We young, you know, and we ended up winning the conference, even though we only played 14 games. We went 9-0 in the conference, and we finished the season 11-3. So we was gonna have a good team. And you know, my former principal, who left in May, she actually bought us leather sleeve jackets for winning the conference. Like,
Yes.
nobody gets leather sleeve jackets for winning the conference. You know what I'm saying? You got to go to the States and all
Right.
that.
Right.
But she felt, COVID, it was a COVID season. So to reward us, we got leather sleeves that say conference champs. I was like, wow, thank you. You know,
Now, you with the best shots real quick. How's Jay's communication with you guys since? Is he still in the mix? So I mean, I know some things for TV, but again, I think this is probably a lot more than television.
I mean, I don't have any contact. I have his number, but I haven't really reached out to him. I know last time when I talked to Hottie sometime, I asked him, "Did you talk to Jay?" He was like, "Yeah, I still be talking to Jay," and Quan still talk to him. I don't know if Isaiah talked to him. So I haven't talked to Isaiah in a minute. But he's still in touch with the kids, but I haven't really, had no conversations with him or anything. I think the last time I saw Jay was the screening in because they did a screening in Newark. He was in LA, he was in Miami, and then he came to Newark and they did the screening, but I haven't seen him since then.
Okay. But now to your point, it sounded like you said you was Miami, California. It must be great to be a Newark coach between you and Akbar. You guys are big time with this Hollywood stuff.
Yeah, that's my guy too, man.
Yeah. And then obviously since then, though, just obviously this coaching and obviously the light that is shed throughout the world, just Newark, not only Newark, but Central High School here. I mean, that just had to be a heck of a feeling. Just kind of just put Newark was already on, but just to reintroduce yourselves.
Right. I mean, I would go places and kids would come up to me and they'd be like, "You coach Central?" And I was like, "Yeah, you was in Best Shot. Yeah, I can take a picture with you." And I used to be like, "Yeah, sure." And it was weird to me because I never had nobody like that, like make me feel like that. Like, you somebody, let me take a picture. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just a weird feeling. And then I started getting DMs and messages from Facebook and Instagram. Okay. Kids from all over the world, man. I'm talking about like Africa, the Philippines, telling me how great the show was. They would love to play for me. And I'm like, yo, is this real? So I would respond. They'd be like, "I love the show." And I would respond like, "Oh, thank you." And they would hit me back, "Is this really you?" And I'm like, yeah. They're like, "Oh, well, I be hitting these people, they don't never respond." I said, "Well, I mean, I'm not at that level where I'm getting 10,000 DMs, or however LeBron and they'll probably get, And I was like, yeah, I would respond. I done had conversations with people. I speak regularly to a coach in Charlotte, asking me, some of the things I do with the kids to, not even basketball, just life things like, and a lot of people, be hitting me, man. And my Instagram, I used to have like 5,000 followers. I'm at 10,000 now. And I'm like, where all these people come from? Like, you know what I'm saying? But it's because of Best Shot, and I know that. And if they do hit me, I respond. Like, I don't think I'm too big for anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just love what I do, man. And if I could be positive to anybody, it don't even have to be a kid. If I can give you some positive words that'll make you want to do better or do something different with your life, then I'm that person. That's who I am. It ain't all about basketball. Like I tell people, we have a handshake that we do that started with Zoo Crew. And it ventured off into Central. Now the Central kids do it. They never played for Zoo Crew. Then somebody come up, "Man, they not Zoo Crew. Why they doing the handshake?" Oh, the handshake for everybody, man. If they want to be a part of something, I'd rather they do this handshake than that gang handshake. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They want to be a part of something. So no, I'm not going to deny them. Yeah, they never played for me, but I know them. I know the kid. Like, I got a relationship with a lot of kids in Central that didn't play basketball, just from being in the school and being around different kids and seeing different, like, personalities and understanding kids. Like, because I come from where you come from. Like, you can't, it's probably nothing that done happened to you that it may not have happened to me, but I've seen it or I've been around a person who's happened to. So, I can kind of help you out, man. I can't fix everything, but Best Shot just did a lot, man. That's why I said I always thought the state championship was my best accomplishment, playing in the tournament champions, losing to Bob Hurley in the Tournament Champions semifinal. And, you know, I always thought that was an accomplishment. Like, and now best shot, I think that's one of my biggest accomplishments that in my life so far, you know.
Yeah. I've probably seen it a handful of times, like I said, when it, as far as watching it here. So, I mean, again, they did a great job. I mean, as far as this overall, but I think just highlighting Newark again, and just kind of just what kind of individuals we are as far as those born or even born and raised in Newark here. So, like I said, I've seen it a handful of times. I probably will watch it probably this weekend since I'm talking. So
but it's funny, man. It's crazy because I was in New York, man. Like going to get some stuff for my store, and I was walking past this spot. They was building one of them skyscrapers, and I walked by, and the guy was like, white guy. He like, hey, man, I know you. And I'm like, I mean, I don't know how you know me. I'm from Jersey. He was like, oh, yeah, you the coach for Central. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I watched Best Shot, man. That was a great show. And I was like, wow, like, that's crazy. Like, that somebody would recognize you, you know, off the show. And it was crazy, man. I still can't believe, I still run into people and they be like, and it's funny, I was talking to a kid today in front of my store. He was like, oh, gee, man, he in the streets. He's like, yeah, Best Shot, man. I watch that all the time. And I'm like, you watch Best Shot? He was like, yeah, man. I respect you a lot, man, because you always positive. You never trying to get kids to do bad things. And I felt that coming from a kid, 16, got tattoos on his face, he ain't in school. And every time I see him, I greet him with, like, what's going on, bro? What you doing? Like, you know, like, I can't judge you because what you're doing.
Right.
But hopefully somewhere down the line, you get it together and see that this is not, you know, what it is, what you think it is. And, you know, when he said that, he's like, I respect you a lot, man. You do a lot of positive, you talk positive to the kids. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot coming from, but I got that from a lot of people I didn't know that was in the streets, that would see me certain places. Yo, keep working with them kids, man. Yo, that's great what you doing, man. I love what you're doing. And I used to be like, wow, like that's deep, man. When you can get some jokers that's deep in the streets to respect what you're doing, you know what I'm saying?
What time it is, yeah.
Word.
Now, speaking of which, obviously you had a store. Outside of the store and coaching, what other stuff are you involved with?
That's about it right now, man. COVID kind of stymied me, man. Like I haven't done Zuku basketball with the kids since February 2020, right before COVID hit. We had to shut everything down, and then I lost my good friend Malik, you know, in May, who was like my left and right hand and my kick in the back. You know what I'm saying? And he was like the driving force behind keeping Zuku going, because I was always like, Malik, man, I'm tired. I want to do something else. Like, you know, I've been doing it a long time. And he was like, no, we got to service these kids, blah, blah, blah. And now he's gone. And I'm still trying to, you know, cope with it, because it's like, damn, like that's, if I'm running late, I know Malik gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? He was like, we worked so well together for the last 20 years, man. It's like, it's still like unreal that he's not here. And I don't really have the energy to start it back up, man. And people like, yo, when's Zuku starting back? And first I said September. Now people asking me, I'm saying April. I don't really have the energy to go back to do it because my man not around, and that was really his thing. You know, I kind of not grew from it, but he was the face of it. And people thought I was the driving force. He was really the driving force in the last 5 to 10 years behind Zuku.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I mean, I think everybody will see what happens. I mean, again.
I did the summer league. You know, I only did 2 divisions as opposed to 9 divisions because I didn't want to wear myself thin. Because, again, my man wasn't here. Like, he hold down the court and I hold down the other court. So I didn't want to stretch myself thin and not really have nobody to help me out. So I just did 2 divisions, you know, a high school division, which was I did a JV division and a varsity division boys, but I usually do 8 and under, 10 and under, 12 and under. But I didn't think I had the staff to do that, and I didn't want it to be raggedy. So I just did what I thought I could handle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now I hear you. And some other stuff you dabbled in, at least had some political stuff too. Did you have aspirations as far as? Am I accurate with that?
Well, again, that wasn't my aspirations. That was my man Malik again. You know,
Okay.
rest in peace, Malik. He was always in my ear, like, you gotta run for council. You gotta run for council. And I used to be like, Malik, that ain't me. Like,
Okay.
we all know what politicians do, man. They not,
Yeah.
some of them are for the people, but it's really a personal thing when you get into them politics, when you start getting in these seats and going to different levels of the, the political realm. I did it because he asked me to do it. So I ran in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I finished third out of 9. The top 2 candidates was the current council person and another person who was a council person. So I kind of fared well. You know, I forced a runoff between them 2. And then I ran again in 2018. I was in the runoff. You know, I lost by 300 votes to the mayor's person that was on the mayor's ticket. So she beat me in the original race, but she didn't win 50% of the vote. So we had to have a runoff a month later. She beat me by 1,000 votes in the general election, but in the runoff, she only won by 300 votes. So I was kind of right there, you know, like even if something happened to her, technically I'm supposed to be the next person to, you know, go on that council seat. But it's not really something I wanted to do. It was just something I thought if I got in, I probably could do more for my community. But talking to different people that was in City Hall, they used to say, "Why you running? You can't help the people." And it used to bother me that
that's crazy.
that people telling me that, and you're in City Hall, like, so why all these people trying to run? Am I missing something? Because I'm not going in there to become that person that say, look, we need your vote on this. No, I got to see what I'm voting on. I'm not just voting on it just because everybody voting on it. I need to see, does this benefit the community that I'm in? You know what I mean? And I think that kind of, you know, I get ostracized by people because I speak my mind as far as like the ills that go on in our community. And I think people don't really care about the community. I think people care about the community when it's best for them. You know what I mean? And our people suffer in our communities, not just in Newark, in every urban city in America. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So this is by design. And we keep voting people in, and it seems like nothing changes. You know what I mean? But the level of their livelihood changes. But the livelihood of the people in the community never changes. And I thought I could get in there and do that. Like people keep asking me now, you running in 2022. And I'm like, I'm not really beat for it, but I don't know. You know, I'll figure it out. And what hurts me a lot, because the election is in May, and my basketball season, if we have a good season, runs until almost the end of March. So I don't really have time to you know, to campaign like I should be. You know what I'm saying? Like 2018, I didn't really campaign until the runoff. Because 2018 was the year we went to the state final. We lost to Haddonfield, so my season was stretched. Once I got in the runoff, that whole month I was out there and I almost won. So if I would have put that energy in before that for the general election, I think I could have won, but I didn't have the energy to do it because I was doing, you know, best shot, and you know my team was pretty good. But politics, man, it's crazy, man. Then when you speak on it, people try to downplay you and say, "Oh, you don't know what he's talking about. Oh, conspiracy theorists." Nah, this stuff be real, man. But we don't speak on it because we don't want to get caught up in the mess. And you know, a lot of people right now are caught up in what you call it? They're caught up in like the lifestyle. Like, you know, I grew up on do more with less. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't want to lose things, so they just don't say nothing. And I'm not that person. I had one of my friends tell me, yo, man, just be quiet and get one of these $100,000 jobs like everybody else.
Nah, I don't want that. Yeah.
I don't want that. Like, if I got to get it that way, no, I'm not progressing on the backs of my people, man. That's one thing I'm not doing. And I'm not selling my soul, man. I struggle because I know what the struggle is. And like, even when I was doing Zucru, like, we never really had no money, man. These kids had to come up with the money and we go on these trips or they got to sell candy. Like, I get it. It might take me 10 years to get somewhere where somebody got it in one, but the struggle be real, and I appreciate the struggle sometimes because I came from the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I definitely hear you. Where you see Newark at now as far as going backwards or forwards?
Backwards, man. Newark,
Yeah.
right now, Newark is, man, we done had like, man, it's been murders in Newark since I can remember, but when it's a spike in violence, man, like right now what's going on, like these young kids, you know, I call them the COVID kids, man, because they ain't had nothing to do. They ain't had no social skills. They didn't interact with nobody because they was home. Like, nobody built their minds.
Yes.
You know, we in school now, we got 9th graders pre-COVID who were 7th graders. We got 10th graders pre-COVID who was 8th graders. We got 11th graders pre-COVID, they were 9th graders. We got a bunch of babies in high school, man, whose minds hasn't matured because they wasn't being taught the way they should have been taught. They wasn't socially interacting with their peers. Like, they wasn't being disciplined because a lot of people went to work and had to leave their kids home alone.
Yeah, right.
Some of these kids were in situations where the school is always the safe haven. They can get out of that situation for 6 to 7 hours, 8 hours, but they were stuck in that situation for 16 to 18 months. The COVID babies, man, they violent. It's a lot of violence. It's an uptick in violence everywhere, not just Newark, but it's an uptick in violence, and it's the kids that's doing it, man. And it's crazy. And I see the change in these kids, and because I done dealt with all levels of kids the past 30 years, these kids are different. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people don't understand that, and these kids wasn't socially ready to come back to school without some type of plan in place to build them mentally. Like, mentally, they're not there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I agree 100%. I mean, obviously they home, obviously during the COVID time, not stimulated, not engaged, you know, as far as, again, we all had to deal with sitting in front of computers and everything else, but the learning piece on that, you know, for that 6, 7 hours you mentioned there, that's a lot. I mean, to be sitting in front of like a computer, not standing up, not, you know what I mean, that's a lot.
Right. You get lazy. And I see a lot of kids, you know, I play with the kids, oh, you got that COVID weight, huh? Like, you know, you wasn't that big when you left. So that's that weight from sitting around doing nothing. And it's like, I don't know, man, these kids just, like, we're in an age of social media, and I think they had too much time on their hands to be involved with it. And I tell people, the same stuff we see on social media, these kids see it. You know what I mean? So we may look at it differently the way they look at it. Like, they glorify watching people get beat up, people shooting at people. Like, they like that stuff. I look at it like, yo, that's crazy.
Yes.
That really happened? So the mindset is totally different. And we got a bunch of kids in school that haven't really been in high school a full 2-3 years. Because as a freshman, you're silly. You're trying to find your way in. Sophomore, you're still a little silly, but you're growing up a little bit.
Yeah.
Junior year, you see the whole change in the kid. They're not playing around no more. I'm 1 year away from, you know, like people always say to juniors, oh, you got 1 more year, you out here. So now they starting to believe like, oh yeah, I'm about to be an adult. So the mindset changing. And then seniors, they're a little bit more reserved. They know they're about to be out of here. I ain't playing around, you know, whatever. So those kids that went from 9th to 10th to 11th grade, they never matured. They never matured in high school. They never grew with their teachers or with their friends.
Right.
So it's crazy. Newark right now, man. Newark is dirty, man. Newark is no programs in the city, man. Newark is bad, man. Right now, Newark is bad, and I'm not afraid to say that.
What's going to change it?
What's going to change it? We need the Mr. Hills to come back.
Yeah.
We need the Zay Braswell, rest in peace, that passed away. We need Raheem's to come. People left, like programs was going on here, and people died along the way, like for various reasons, and nobody picked up their programs. We lost people that didn't care about how much money they was making when they were servicing kids. We lost programs that help the community with safe haven, 6 to 9 programs, 3 to 6 programs. Like we can go somewhere and hang out and be around an adult that's
Yes.
going to discipline you if you acting out, that's not afraid of you. We're missing a lot of that, man. We're missing people that's not afraid of the community, that's not afraid of the kids, that came from the community, that understand the community. You can't, and I ain't knocking nobody with a suit and tie, but you can't go off to get your master's and all this and come back and never step foot in the community, never grew up in the community, and come back and tell people how to run the community that we live in. You don't know this community. You don't know these people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're missing genuine people. We have to get genuine people back in the community. And we don't have genuine people in charge in no place. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you get genuine people in charge, they understand the community and they can come up with a better plan. These plans they're giving our kids now is not working, man. It's not working.
A lot of sometimes too is just to check a box. Is to check a box.
Yeah. Like me, I mean, we all need money to survive. Don't get me wrong. And I know we're living in a world where money is, it seems like you can make it doing a lot of different things, especially with social media being so big. But you got to get genuine people back, man. That is not always about the money. Yeah, I want to check. I want to get paid. But when I grew up, man, there was a lot of volunteerism going on, man. A lot of people wasn't getting paid in a lot of these programs that I was going to. Like, they did it because they love to do it. They love to be around kids and they love to help, and they were community. There's no more community, man. There's no more community. You got kids going to school 40 minutes from their house. I got to catch 2 buses to get to school. We walk to school, man. That's how you knew who lived in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's no more of that. People live next door to each other and they don't even know each other.
And if they do see each other, they don't even speak.
They don't even speak. Like, I didn't grow up in that, man. I grew up in the projects where it was love. I could knock on somebody's door and ask for, my mom said, could you got 4 pieces of bread? And they'd be like, hold up, and go get it. Now you do that, it's on social media. You believe my neighbor came and asked me for 4 pieces of bread? Like, yo, you serious?
Yeah.
We lost that. We lost that connection, man. That connection is gone. Everybody's better than everybody in this world now. Like, that's why I love the project so much, because you couldn't lie. We all living in the project. You ain't got no more than what I got. Or my mother ain't got no more than what your mother got. We know we all poor. You know what I mean? And now I see people that grew up with me and they doing good things. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said I learned to do more with less. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have much, but I know how to maneuver. Like, we didn't have much food, but we ate every day. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that we missing genuine people that really care about the kids in the community. Because one thing I've learned about working with kids, people will run around and say, yeah, I love the kids. I love the kids. They don't care about these kids, man. And it's sad.
I couldn't agree more. Like I said, I do a lot of work as far as with kids myself. So everything you're saying, I agree. And just being genuine. And like I said, I go back to early on, like I said, these kids know when you BSing. I mean, they know it. They know it.
They know who don't like them, man. And they'll be like, oh, I don't like, why you look, they be doing some bull. And then I'll be in my mind like, yeah, they do be doing, I can't even shoot him no bell. Like, nah, he good. You know, like, because I know you be doing some bull. But to take the kid to pick it up. So, you know, you can't fool kids, man. Kids see right through you, man. And if they could get over on you, that's what they're gonna do. If they know that you not playing, they not gonna play too much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but you know, we live and we learn, man. And I just don't like the fact that the community suffers, man, and people get all this money, especially after this COVID stuff. All this money that flew around to these different cities, and I'm looking at millions of dollars coming in, and I'm like, well, what are they doing with the money? Where is it going? Like, because I see no growth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and to your point, the only thing growing is, unfortunately, the murder rate. You know,
That's it.
Instead of these services and, you know, places, to your point, the 3 to 6 in the afternoon and 6 to 9 in the evening, some nights, like, where people can go. Where are they?
The neighborhood centers, man. We got one Boys and Girls Club in the city of Newark. One Boys and Girls
makes no
Club
sense. Makes no
in a
sense.
city with 40,000 kids. We
Mhm.
got one rec center, one
Yeah.
North rec center in a city that has almost 300,000 people.
Mm.
We have a rec center, one rec center for the city of Newark that the city of Newark runs. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's the same rec center. Well, it's supposed to be closed now. They renovating it. That thing ain't been renovated in about 40 years, man. I'd take you 40 years to renovate a rec center.
Mhm.
How you don't build other rec centers? Newark got 5 wards, man. We got one gym. Like, come on, man. We got about 50 schools here, and none of the gyms open. None of the schools open. It should be community schools.
Yes.
If you got a program like you doing now, and you went to the neighborhood school and said, look, I got this program. I want to show kids how to do interviews or whatever. You should be able to go and use a classroom for 1 hour out of the day. You shouldn't have to bring in no insurance papers. Where your kids from? I got kids. They from the community.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
we can't let you in. We don't want nobody in the building. Huh? So now you don't do your program because you don't have nowhere to go. When it's a school sitting right on the corner with 200 classrooms, and I can't use one of them.
Yeah, I don't have no room. Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yes.
That's crazy. That's just crazy to me, man.
Mhm.
But you speak on it. No, you got to go downtown, get a permit, this and that, and let them people in, man. Mr. Hill ain't say you got to go get a permit. Mr. Hill said, come in this gym. I see you working with them kids. Come in here every Friday and you can use my gym. He ain't asked me for no insurance.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. We could do what we want to do, but we don't want it to be done because nobody wants to be responsible if something happens. That's just it right there.
Mhm.
Accountability.
Now, well said. That, and like you said, and being genuine, accountability, and being genuine.
Right. That's it. That's it.
And I appreciate this time. I'm gonna ask. Don't let me let you go just yet, because I always like to have a little bit of fun towards the end, take you down memory lane a little bit, just a little bit more, if that's all right with you. No, I appreciate it. When I usually start off, I just either or kind of questions. I just call it on the spot here. So obviously, you're a Jersey guy. Parkway to Turnpike.
Parkway, man. I hate them trucks.
Bragman's or Cooper's?
What was that?
Bragman's or Cooper's?
I gotta go with Bragman's.
Clinton Ave or Springfield Ave?
Springfield Ave. I'm from the Central Ward, so Springfield Ave.
Right. Back in your heyday, Sensations or Zanzibar?
Sensations, man. I'm hip hop. I ain't with that jumping around stuff, man. I'm hip hop.
Nah, absolutely. What Universals or Dr. J's?
Universals, man.
Sharp James, Ken Gibson, or Cory Booker?
Sharp James, man. Sharp James was for the people.
Now, the Hole or Green Acres?
The Hole, because the Hole was, I played in the Hole, man. The Hole was a different vibe, man. You had to be able to play in the Hole, man.
Other playgrounds you enjoyed playing at?
Newton Street Playground, which is inside New Community. I love playing there. And Westside Park. That was like one of the first summer leagues I ever played in up at Westside Park.
Okay. Coaching or playing?
Oh, man. I love both, man, but I wish I could. It's funny you say that, man, because I coach standing up. I can't sit down because I want to play. And I get in my kids' faces when they do something. Like if I would have played, I would have did something different. It's like I want to play. So that's a tough one, man. But right now I say coaching. I love coaching though.
How would you coach yourself, the player? How would you coach? How would you coach against him?
What was that?
How would you coach against yourself, the player?
How would I coach against me? Don't let them shoot. Make them put it on the floor. Be honest, I didn't like to put the ball on the floor. If I'm open, I'm letting it go. So don't let them shoot.
Remember the first time you dunked?
First time I dunked?
Remember?
I only dunked one time in the game in my life.
Really?
Yeah, and I was
Okay.
in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, on the breakaway?
Yeah, it was on the breakaway. I caught a dunk. Like I wasn't athletic, man.
Okay.
I was the Larry Bird. I was like Larry Bird. Like I knew the game. I wasn't athletic, but if you sleep on me, it's gonna be a problem.
You're gonna feel it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, best game you ever played in your life? What sticks out?
Best game I ever played. The game we lost in my sophomore year at Keystone. We lost in the second round of the playoffs at Del Tech. I had 33 points. That was the most points I ever scored. Like I couldn't miss. Like, yeah.
Okay. How about I know I'm gonna yo-yo a little bit. Best game you ever coached?
Best game I ever coached had to be against Bob Hurley, the Tournament of Champions semifinal in what was that, 2011. We won the state championship. We were down 3 at the half. He had Kyle Anderson, Miles Mack, Lucky Jones. Like he had a real good team. And I respect Coach Hurley, and I really thought I was gonna win that game. And they beat us by 15, but they finished undefeated. They was USA Today #1 team in the country. And I felt like we could have gave them their first loss, but it just didn't work out that way. But I think that was the best game I ever coached.
Even going interesting, like played against, St. Anthony's a couple of times. Now, going into that game again, that was Tournament of Champions, and you went in again, like we're gonna beat them.
Right.
Yeah. And as far as even the whole the game itself, what they just got on the run in the second half?
Yeah, they tightened up on defense. Third quarter wasn't a great quarter for us. We missed a lot of shots. And, like I said, we lost by 15, but we were down like 9 with about 3 or 4 minutes to go. Then, we got a foul. So, the foul makes the score a little, look a little different. But they were blowing people out that year. And we played very well. I had a very good team that year, too. We played very well. I had Pat Cole. Pat Cole was my point guard on that team. And he was a heck of a player. And he came from St. Anthony. So, he wanted to win that game too. But yeah, I got a lot of respect for Coach Hurley, man. We used to talk a lot, man. We used to talk a lot.
Yeah.
A good dude, real good dude.
Is that the best team you ever coached?
The best team I ever coached?
Is that the best team you ever coached? That Central
Central?
team? In general, that you've ever had. Is that the best team?
I think my 2018 team was my best team because nobody expected us to get to the state final.
Okay.
Like nobody believed DN was the best player in Newark. And I used to tell people DN is the best player in Newark. And he carried us to that championship. We had Nutter, but he was only a sophomore. And, those guys on that team, my seniors, they've been playing since they were sophomores. So they worked hard, man. That was probably the best team I think I coached as far as like, that all of them were academically inclined, except for maybe Zarik. He was struggling a little bit, Quan. But the rest of the guys, our GPAs was high on that team. Those guys had great character. Yeah. And the best shot showed it. Like, those kids loved each other, man. And they was a good group to coach, man. I loved that, coaching that team.
And even you bringing up the best shot, I mean, I think it sounds like the stars just aligned just with all of that stuff, just to kind of tie that up. Sound like the stars aligned the way the series went, the way your team played, how far they went. Stars just aligned. I mean, you couldn't probably paint a better picture.
And you know what? They told us, Coach, if you win, we're done. We have a deadline. They didn't think we was going that far. So if we'd have won that state championship game, we'd have went into the Tournament of Champions. They wouldn't have been able to film because they said they had a deadline. Like they was already past the deadline. They thought our season was going to be over before, they didn't think we was going that far. So they wasn't ready for that.
Nah, good. Keep them working. Keep them working. Someone who should have made it, whether at any level, whether it was your peers or just in general, somebody who should have made it, whether it's to the pros, college, however you want to define made it.
Should have made it like basketball wise.
Yeah, let's say basketball.
Somebody else I think should have made it and had a good NBA career just because I seen them from the bottom up and they a great all around person. I think Ira Bowman should have made it, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did play with the Sixers for a short stint.
Right.
Because I did go to a playoff game when Baron Davis was playing at Charlotte. Yeah, gave us some tickets and we rolled down to Philly. And but I think he should have made it. And he did make it because he had Auburn, one of the top assistants with I can't even think of the coach at Auburn. Well, he one of the top assistants at Auburn, so he still made it.
Yeah,
Bruce
Pearl.
Bruce Pearl. He's a great guy. Yeah, Bruce Pearl. He's a great guy, man. I was rooting for Ira all through high school, college. Like I was like one of his biggest fans because I saw where he came from.
Nah, and it's only a matter of time before you get that head coaching. So
yeah, I mean, he was
if
just
he
up
wants
here.
If he wants it.
Yeah, he was just up here about a week ago. He had to go to Gil St. Bernard's and watch some kid work out. But his son is a sophomore in high school. So I think once his son finished, I don't think he want to move his son around because his son about 6'5", he working him out. And I think once his son probably graduates high school and picks a college, I think he'll probably take a job somewhere.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right.
Put you a little pressure with your Nork peers here. Your all-time starting Nork 5.
My all-time starting Nork 5?
Right.
That's kind of easy. I'm gonna go point guard. I'm gonna go DeQuan Leonard. He was my point guard on my first team, my first varsity team that I coached.
Okay.
2 guard, I gotta throw Patrick Cole to the 2 because DeQuan Leonard just was a great all-around player. I gotta put DN on that team, man. DN just was a great kid and he got better every year and never complained about nothing. That's 3. Brandon Waiters, that played for me. He won 2 state championships at university. He was on that team that won it in 2011. He won 3 state championships in Newark. I don't think nobody has 3. I think he's the only kid ever won 3 state championships and started in all 3 as a freshman, sophomore, and a junior. So I got to throw Brandon on there. And probably Big Raymond, my big guy that I had on the 2011 team, biggest kid I ever coached. He's about 6'8", 6'9". He was on that team. So, yeah, I got to throw those 5 in there. That's probably the 5 players, 5 best players I ever coached.
Now I'm going to
at Central.
Make a little pressure here. Not even you coaching, just you being from North Gray, seeing zillions of basketball games. All-time city, North. No matter what school, whatever, you're 5.
My 5 players from Newark?
Ever, like not that you coached, that you seen that come out of
that
Newark.
I seen play or
play. You might have heard. I don't know that come out of Newark.
Oh, well, I mean, number 1 got to be Cleo Hill because every time I talk to an old head, they say Cleo probably was the best player to ever come out of Newark, and I'm like, yeah, I wish I could have seen him play. I got to say Cleo Hill. I got to say my idol growing up, I used to walk to Branchbrook Park to watch him play. Randy Franks, who recently just passed away, he played at Central. He went down to St. Aug. He was at Essex County. He played for Mr. Hill on that undefeated team they had down there. He had a little tryout with the Knicks. Didn't work out, but Randy Franks, Grover Willard, who also played at Central. They say he was the Magic Johnson before Magic Johnson. Actually, he tried out for the Lakers, but that didn't work out. And I think Magic came either the year after that or that same year, something, 1980 or 81. I think Magic was there, but they say he was tough, man. Oh, man, in Newark, there's a lot of guys, man, that came from Newark. Eric Williams, man.
Eric, okay.
Eric Williams. I watched Eric in high school, and he got better and better every year. I would say Eric Williams. And I can't leave off
one more.
I can't leave off Randy Foy, man. Randy was tough. Randy kind of made kids stay in Newark too. Because when that happened with Eastside, I think Randy was a sophomore, and they was trying to get him to transfer to St. Pat's, and he stayed at Eastside. And, you know, it worked out for him. He got a scholarship to Villanova from there. He had a nice little career in the NBA. So I got to throw Randy in there.
Interesting. And it's interesting you mentioned the whole, I know obviously it was documented, you mentioned it earlier about the Zarik leaving, but did you have any other issues with kids just leaving these parochials or private schools taking them?
Yeah, I'm pro public school. I have a problem with it. You know, I think parents get a false sense of academics. Like they don't think the public school could service their child, which I don't believe is real. I mean, because I came from public school before I went to, you know, Catholic school, and I did well academically. I have a kid on my team right now. He's a 4.0 student. Actually, NJIT just called me about him. They want to watch him work out.
Okay.
And he's been in public school all his life. He's taken AP classes. He's top 5 in the class, in his senior class. So I think it's your child. I don't think it's the schools per se, because like people used to say, no, I ain't sending my kids to Central. Yeah, I went to Central. All they did was dittos. This is what I used to hear. And I said, no, you probably did dittos because you probably was in a different class than the regular kid. It's kids that's in AP classes, and there's only like 10 of them in that class because they probably the only 10 could do that work. The other 700 kids in the school probably taking general ed. You know what I mean? Because that's what you can handle. So I'm not a fan of people going to parochial schools because a lot of good kids just sit on the bench. And they over-recruit. They got Zarik to come to St. Benedict's. Season was over. They said, don't come back. Wow. So they sold you a dream, and you went there, and now they don't want you, and they bring in somebody else. And, you know, he ended up at the Patrick School. But I think you could have got a Division I scholarship out of Central. If you're a D1 player, you're a D1 player. I don't care where you are.
Right.
Sure, the schedule is a little tougher. You know, it's more focused on basketball when you're at a Catholic school playing basketball. That, you know, they got a little bit more that's sponsored. So we get caught up in the hype, man. You know, I've never been a hype guy. I like to beat the people that they say is the best. Like, I want to play them. Like, we played St. Benedict's that year. I said, I want to play St. Benedict. I don't care who they have. We lost by 20, but I thought we competed. We was in the game. You know, we didn't lose by 40 like everybody thought. Even Jay said in the documentary, oh, they probably lose by 50. But they played. Like, you know, I try to get the most out of my kids and let them believe that these jokers lace up their sneakers just like you do, man.
Right.
They just play they just take this game a little bit more serious because they really trying to get that scholarship. Some of y'all just playing. These kids doing it for real. So I'm not a Catholic school fan, man. But even though I went to Catholic school, I'm not a fan of it. You know, as far as like kids that can play basketball and you're going to sit on somebody's bench for 4 years where you could have been starting somewhere as a freshman. You know what I mean? Leaving your mark. You know what I'm saying?
No, I hear you. What are you most proud of? Just in general.
What I'm most proud of?
It don't even have to be athletics, obviously. What are you most proud of?
I'm proud of being able to, I'm proud that I walked away from the streets and I got to watch my daughter grow. You know, I have a daughter, she just graduated from Clark, Atlanta. She graduated in 2020.
Okay.
They had the ceremony this year. So, you know, I went down there and watched her graduate. She lives in Atlanta now. And I think that's the proudest moment of my life, that I was able to be here and watch my daughter grow and be in her life. You know what I'm saying? Because if I would have stayed in the streets, I might not have had that opportunity. You know, and I cherish that. And I have another little daughter coming up now, but I think that's my proudest moment, watching my daughter follow my footsteps and go to college and graduate. You know, so, and she was a little smarter than me. She graduated magna cum laude or whatever, you know, so she was a real bright girl. But her mother played a big role in her life, but I was just glad I was able to be there to see that, you know, because I know a lot of brothers that not around to see their kids grow and, you know, do good things.
Nah, not like a father-daughter. I'm a proud father of a 7-year-old daughter. So
okay, I have a 5-year-old. Yeah,
okay.
I have a 5-year-old as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably looking like a grandfather, but it's all right.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I know the feeling. I'm gonna be 67 going to a high school graduation, man. That's gonna be my child, not my grandchild. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow.
Nah, it's all right. Like I said, as long as we're here to see it, I'm good. You
Word.
you feel you got your just due?
What's that?
You feel you got your just due?
From as far as what?
Just in general. I mean, with
Nah,
life and okay.
nah. I really
Mhm.
don't. I mean, I think I could have done more if people would have accepted what I do and accepted me as who I am,
Mhm.
not trying to make me be something that I'm not. I don't think I get my just due. Like
Mhm.
I watch people get accolades, and like I said on the thing, I don't do it for accolades, but if I'm doing something and it's benefiting others,
Mhm.
I think people should be given their, like now people saying giving your flowers while you're here.
Mhm.
Like I don't think I get my just due, man. I think I could do more, and I don't think people allow me to do more.
Yeah.
And it's okay because I'm moving at my pace. Like even with the Hall of Fame at Caldwell, it took me 30 years to get in, and I think I should have been like first ballot Hall of Fame. I should have been in
Mhm.
25 years ago.
Mhm.
But even with the Newark Hall of Fame, I just got nominated for that. I actually think the ceremony this month. I haven't really heard. I'm not even gonna go, man,
Mhm.
because I've seen people go in before me, and it's like I feel disrespected.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And people are like, oh, you shouldn't feel like that. Nah, that's just how I feel. Like I'm not going because they told me I was in 3 years ago, and then they told me we made a mistake. Like, nah, I ain't.
Made a
And now you
mistake.
probably, yeah, we made a mistake, but now I'm probably getting put in because of best shot. That's how I'm
Mhm.
looking at it. You know what I mean? Because 3 years ago, best shot wasn't out, and y'all called me and said I was in, and then all of a sudden I wasn't in.
Mhm.
So I felt some type of way about that. But I think the ceremony is this month, if I'm not mistaken. It was supposed to be last year, but COVID,
Okay.
messed it up. So they having a ceremony this year. But I didn't even fill out the paperwork and none of that stuff. So I'm like, whatever. I go in. I'm not gonna be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you won't bring your mistake in. Yeah. Like that's crazy.
Right. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't like even with Caldwell, I felt some type of way because you judging me what I did off campus.
Mhm.
The Hall of Fame is supposed to be what I did while I was on the basketball court.
Right.
The two don't coincide with each other. What I did off campus has nothing to do with what I did at the school.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I even took my ball, man. Like I got arrested when I was at Caldwell, and I finished the school year, but I had a 1,000-point ball in the showcase. I think that
Mhm.
was part of it too. When they told me I couldn't stay on campus, I took the ball. I said, "Well, give me my ball. Like I don't want my ball sitting in here." So
Yeah.
I think I created some of that, but that was just me being young and not understanding and just being mad because they kicked me off campus. And all right, give me my basketball. I'm
Mhm.
taking my ball
Mhm.
and I'm leaving.
Yeah. Even with that being said, what's the best part about being Shawn McCray?
The best part about being Shawn McCray that I like being respected, man. I like when people come up to me and say, I like what you're doing with the kids. I like
Mhm.
people that don't know me, you know, acknowledge me. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? The best thing about me is if I'm your friend, I'm your friend to the end, man.
Yeah.
I'm loyal. I'm loyal to whoever. I'm not going to jeopardize myself, to the point where, like I'm compromising myself to be loyal to you. But I'm a loyal guy, man. I'm a good friend, and I love the kids, man. Like I think I'm just a great guy all around. Like I got my flaws. I'm not perfect, and I never
Mhm.
claim to be. But I'm just a great guy, man. I'm a good friend to have in your corner. And I'm gonna tell you just some real stuff. I ain't gonna beat around the bush
Mhm.
and make you believe something other than what you shouldn't believe. Like, but I'm not gonna make you believe what I believe. I'm just gonna tell you how I think it is. And if you want to listen, you listen. If you don't, I don't lose no respect for you. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Whatever you're gonna do, I always tell my kids, man, that I coach. Some of them linked to gangs, and some of them went to jail. And when I see them, I still greet them like, you're a human being. I knew you before all that. So I'm never judging nobody because I did things that I'm not proud of. You know what I'm saying? So I don't judge nobody, man. Everybody life different.
No, absolutely. And last, as far as what would a 17, 18-year-old senior in high school, Shawn McCray, what advice would you give him?
Oh, man. Get in the weight room, man. Get in the weight room. And 17, well, at that time, it was too late to catch up with the academics. I mean, I did all right my senior year, but I was already dug a hole. But get in the weight room, take the game serious. Like, I just played. Like, back then, we ain't lift weights. We ain't had individual trainers. We ain't do none of that stuff. We went in the playground and played all day, man. Yeah. And that was our game. Like, that's how you got tough, playing outside in the playground. Like, so I would just tell myself to work on your ball handling and go and do some push-ups, because nobody was really in the weight room back then. But I would say do some push-ups and work on your ball handling.
Would you have any life advice you would give them? What would you give them? That
stay focused, man. My motto now is just to stay focused and sucker free, man. Stay focused. Like, I got sidetracked when I came home from college. When I wasn't focused enough or like to stay away from the fast money. Like, I could have just stayed in school, not leave campus, and stayed focused. I graduated. I mean, I got lucky, but just to stay focused, man, is follow your dream. Like, if I would have did what I was supposed to do, I would have played Division I basketball. But I got the chance to play against Division I players. But just stay focused and follow your dreams, man. Like I'm doing now. Like I'm a little bit more focused than what I was 20 years ago.
Nah, I appreciate it, Coach. It's interesting you said as far as staying focused and what have you, and you've been doing that indirectly, kind of with your life here. You talked about even with being a coach, 16, 17-year-old, as far as, and I said it before, just in regards to just being around kids, even at that age, missing an opportunity to potentially get a scholarship, maybe be a Big East player because you didn't go to that Georgetown tournament or what have you that weekend because you had the coach. But I just wanted to say, not only that, I mean, I probably say for hundreds of kids and adults even that watch you and instill something from you, just who you are here, just being in the community. You are who you are. You don't take no shorts. I mean, what you see is what you get, and they got to live with it, however that goes down. So I just want to say, you being officially you, somehow I'm officially me here, and I just want, again, thank you just for taking time out, Coach. I really, really enjoyed this and appreciate you just, kicking it with me for a little bit, taking time out of your day.
Man. I have no problem telling my story, man. I have no problem, if somebody watching and they, I just like to uplift people, man. Like, it could be done. Don't never let nobody tell you something can't be done, because everything I've done from scratch, man, to be honest with you. And it's worked. It took me a long time to get where I want to be, and I'm not really where I want to be yet. I feel as though I could do more things, and I'm exploring that, but I don't want to give up coaching, while I'm exploring it, So, that's just it. Like, even, being at Central and starting from the ground up and building a championship team in 4 years, I'm just proud of that. Like, excuse me, I just like to watch the development. I love players that can play, don't get me wrong, but I like working with kids, even if they don't play sports, just watching them develop in life.
Yes.
That's my joy. And people always used to say, oh, Central and Zuku kids don't make it. And it's like, what you consider making it.
Right.
Because if they in life, living life, and they got families now, they made it. I mean, maybe they ain't go to the pros, or they're not making $100,000 job, but they made it. It depends on what you consider making it. So, I always tell my guys, man, just do something, man. Just don't graduate high school without a plan, man. If you ain't gonna go to college, because college is not for everybody, and everybody that play high school basketball can't play college basketball. Right. That's just it. It ain't no knock on your game. It just ain't happening. Just find something you like to do, and it might take a while, but do something that's gonna keep you occupied, where you're not gonna get caught up in the riffraff. Because it's a matrix out there, man. It ain't hard to get caught up in it.
Nah, you're right about that. And what you just said, if these kids and they're hearing it from you, that it's doable. I mean, again, you just gotta just hit your stride eventually, but it's doable.
Right.
Coach, thank you.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it, man.
Now, likewise, and maybe offline, I know you talked about retiring and moving away from the tournaments, but I might have to ask you for some tips just how to actually do them and make sure that they're successful here.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm not all the way there. I'm just,
Okay.
I'm just feeling some type of way because my guy not here. But
yeah.
I'll find that energy, man, because this is what I love to do, man. And ain't no other programs in this city. So if I shut down, then it's really gonna be like lights out,
Yeah.
for the younger generation.
Yeah. And you ain't gonna let that happen. So.
Right. Definitely.
Appreciate it, Coach. You be well, and we'll communicate one way or another here. Thank you.
All right. Let me know when you put this up.
Oh no, absolutely, definitely. You're the first to know. All right, no doubt.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Yeah, good stuff here. Like I said, didn't think I could get him. Got him, real down to earth. He is who he is, solid. And you gotta respect that because I definitely do here. But I'm gonna ride all out with that. I put my hand over my heart. That means I feel you. Yeah.